the meeting for today, April 6th. We're on item 1, opening the meeting by board president. And I am calling in order this regular meeting. We have Nancy online and everybody else is here in person. So we have quorum. I want to inform everybody that this meeting is available in English and Spanish, and it will be translated. The translator please give instructions about the translation services available and how to get to them?
Sure. Buenas noches. Se utilizará la función de interpretación de Zoom para soporte en inglés y español. Todos los participantes de esta llamada deben seleccionar su idioma de preferencia haciendo clic en el idioma correspondiente cuando el anfitrión active la función de interpretación. Dicha función se encuentra en el panel de herramientas en el icono del globo terráqueo. El modo de interpretación para esta reunión será el simultáneo. Gracias por su atención y colaboración. Good evening. The Zoom interpretation feature will be used in this Zoom meeting for English and Spanish support. All participants on this call must select their language of preference by clicking the language when the host turns on the interpretation feature. This is found in the world icon located on your feature panel. Interpretation for this meeting will be conducted simultaneously. Thank you for your attention and collaboration.
Perfect, thank you. And now, please note that this meeting will be recorded by direction of the board, and that the recording may capture the sounds of those attending the meeting. So if you are not the person speaking, we'll really appreciate if you turn off your mic. Now, the next item will be the flag salute. Please rise and join me on the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And the Sunnyvale School District is located in the ancestral and unceded land of the Mohima Ohlone tribe, who have peacefully honored and cared for this land for thousands of years. We recognize that every member of the Sunnyvale community continues to benefit from the use and occupation of this land. We acknowledge our responsibility to learn from the wisdom of the Ohlone people and to consider how we might work to repair the injustices and to move forward together in honorable ways. Now we are moving to item 2, which is the approval of the agenda, and it is recommended by the staff that the board approve the agenda. If there is any member of the public who would like to speak before about the items of the agenda in particular, please use the hand raise feature or give us a card. Nobody? Okay. Then board, is there a motion to approve the agenda as is?
I move approval of tonight's agenda as listed.
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion?
Can we pull item 10E, please?
Oh.
Well, that's under consent, right?
It's approving the agenda as is. So you gotta go ahead and pull it down.
No, that's not true.
Well, we can do that, we can do that when we get to consent.
Okay, then we'll change that when we get to consent. Any discussions about it? Okay, then seeing none, we will vote. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, aye. With those chairs vote aye, and with that, the motion will pass. Now we're gonna start with the study session. The study session today is on the local control accountability or LCAP plan, and the contact person for this will be Dr. Tasha Lindy, our Chief Teaching and Learning Officer. We will have all the community comments at 7 when we start the rest of our meeting. So whoever wants to speak community member can also come back at 7 or stay here for a very interesting and important LCAP plan.
Good evening, board. I'm excited to bring the plan to you and have an opportunity to dialogue a little bit about our LCAP plan. It's hard to believe we're approaching a year. Seems like I was just here a moment ago talking about this plan. But tonight is just an opportunity. Just want to clarify a few things too before jumping in based upon some of the questions with regards to the plan. Things keep evolving as we move forward and transition from the pandemic. So last year we came to you with a dedicated engagement plan, input plan, just to kind of give you a sense of what was happening. That was no longer a requirement this year. So when we kind of finalized the plan June and July of this past year, we talked about kind of bringing information a little bit earlier to give you an opportunity to kind of see where we were, what types of things are beginning to take shape, so that the board have an opportunity to kind of see the details of the plan, be reminded about where we are in that process, and then from there, have a little more time to dedicate to having a conversation around what some of our goals and actions are and any particular details we might want to talk about. So for tonight, that's kind of what we're going to do. And so I'm going to kind of journey through the process that we're taking as a district team in order to update our plan and also think about what the goals and objectives and actions will be as we look to our upcoming year in 2023-24. So with that, we're going to get started. Okay, so the process that we've really been using with regards to our plan is to really keep coming back to our equity statement, keep coming back to our anti-racist work. So, because one, we don't want to forget the work that we put into this, because it really does shape how we are approaching goals, shapes how we are accepting information and input that we're being provided. And it's just a reminder, are we thinking about all the people who may not be at the table at the time when we're having discussions, right? Because we do our best to get as much community input and from our school community as possible. But the reality is not every voice is always at the table. But grounding ourselves in the equity statement as a part of that work helps us to remind ourselves who's not here, who are we not thinking about as we go through our planning process. Okay. Just some reminders, what is our local control and accountability plan? The idea is for us to meet our annual goals and the goals for our students. And we always think of that as also an extension to our families, even though that's not the main intent. It is a very large part of the work that we're doing as a part of the plan development. So, so we really want to be specific on that. I think this past year as a district, we've done a really good job. We definitely have room for improvement, but we've really been trying to be sure that the plan is driving any other off plans, if you will. You know, we have our school site plans, we have other plans and other things that we do. We have our CCIS plan, we have lots of different plans, but we're trying to do a really good job of thinking about how do they all connect and align with one another? And is that being addressed somewhere? And how do we infuse it into our LCAP plan as we're going through? In addition to that, of course, the state priorities, which we'll talk about in just a moment, but those things have not changed and they're also guiding the development of our plan. So here are the 8 priorities that we're focused in on. I think the visual kind of speaks for that. But we've really been honing in on a few of those that I want to highlight a bit more. With regards to our foster youth, even though that's not a requirement for us, we've actually been infusing that quite a bit into our program development and goals this year. And a lot of the work and the actions that are directly as well as indirectly related to that. And I think it's goal, I'm looking at my sheet now, but looking at goal 3 in particular, that's one of those areas that we're looking and have been really supporting our students on. The other piece is our pupil achievement, and we appreciate you, board, with the questions that you've been bringing to us to really challenge and be sure from a data standpoint that we're really looking at things as critically as we possibly can, seeing any themes that are out there and details, in particular for the students that we maybe have not been as successful as desired, to see the outcomes for some of those students. So we've been putting a lot of detail with regards to that. Student pupil engagement has also been a real big component. That's been coming in the lenses of climate and safety, which is also one of our priority areas. But also just what do students want? What is the engagement factor within the classroom? And just holding ourselves accountable, but also at our school sites all the way down to the teaching and student level about what's keeping kids from being engaged and fully present during academic instruction. So all of these things we're looking at, but those are the areas we've really been honing in on this past school year. I just want to take a little time here. This was a big portion of the work with the dedicated engagement plan last year. So the student engagement, talked about that a moment ago, just really honing in on that. What does that really mean? Describing that and just letting that be fluent from student to student, groups of students to groups of students, just really being flexible with regards to what that really means. And then our school climate, just continuing to be sure we are prioritizing safety and safety in all, physical safety, mental health safety, all types of safety. Being sure that we're being really cognizant of that and providing those opportunities for both our students, family, as well as our staff. Continuing to work on building connections all the way down to the classroom level. And this really continuing to focus in upon some of the behavioral and discipline needs across the district. And then our family involvement. We definitely have had a lot of different types of activities this year. We continue to focus on that and what the needs are. And we also have some new activities and initiatives that we've been thinking about on how to build our family involvement. Okay. This is just a visual to remind us as a part of our discussion, what are our goals? These are our focused goal areas in the area. They meet all the criteria that is required of us with regards to what the state expects as far as compliance. But more important than compliance, these goals continue to encompass the goals that we really need to focus on as a school district. There's always improvement, opportunity to improve, but they really do encompass the emphasis that we need to focus on as a school district. Okay, our feedback cycle, this is not everything, but I think it captures a bit of what we've been trying to do. We're trying to take new ideas, whatever those new ideas are. We're not asking for those to come with a prescription all the time, but we are asking, what are your thoughts? What are your ideas? We're trying to be responsive. So when people are either challenging from our community, something we're doing or not doing, or how we're doing it, we're trying to let that also guide and engage the process so that we can really have good communication. We take opinions and feedback. We want that, different ideas and ways by which to do that. And I'll talk about one of those in a bit, but one of the areas we talked about last year is trying to engage our special education families just in a little bit more unique way. And so we took action on a few different ways by which to do that this year. Our survey, we continue to engage in our panorama survey. We did a fall survey. We're gearing up right now in order to do our spring survey, which will be going out sometime in May. We have it a little bit later than usual because we're trying to balance between all the lovely testing that we have to accomplish and achieve and keep it balanced and meaningful process for both our staff, our family, and our students. Advice, we've been seeking advice on a particular area. One of those areas has been around, while not directly related to our plan, but one of those areas has been around our community school. We slowed that process down to just be a little bit more thoughtful, get a little bit more input about that process. So we've been attending pretty much monthly, sometimes weekly meetings about that and really planning with a little bit more thoroughness. So seeking those experts. One of the other big buckets that we've been seeking advice and input on is our parent engagement. What should that really begin to look like? And how can we kind of restart, if you will, some of the work that we're doing around the supports that we're providing for our students' families. Results, Lots of results this year. I think the board has had the opportunity to look at lots of different data this year, and we continue to do that ourselves. And we have really infused that into our work with our principals directly. We've been doing that in multiple ways. We've been doing that with one-to-one conferences. We've been doing that with small group coaching. That process has also been happening as a part of our walkthrough visits that we've been doing over the course of this year. And then also we added additional data reviews this year with the intent of really being more intimate as to the data that's happening at our school sites and making meaning of that and understanding what's going on, but also being able to provide in a more consultative type of way feedback and recommendations for support of our principals in order to continue moving initiatives forward and making progress happen for some of our students that we're still slow on in some areas. And then just overall, just getting that ongoing rating too in different kinds of ways. So whether it's from surveys, whether it's from principal conferences where teacher families are there providing that input to principals, which then comes to us. Just really being present to take in the different types of feedback that are coming our way. So I just want to take a little time there because sometimes we are not able to capture everything that we're getting from all the different places that it's coming from, but we are being more diligent about the information coming our way. Okay. Equity Summit feedback, I wanted to take a little time here. Some of you had an opportunity to be a part of that this year. And this was actually our first opportunity to formalize, began formalizing some of the input that we would have to inform our upcoming LCAP plan. And so, we continue to have this emphasis of building an anti-racist community in Sunnyvale. And so I want to share some of the feedback from that and kind of what that looked like. So we did two different types of feedback. We did a thought exchange, which kind of just had one priority question about, feelings about the summit in general. We wanted a general one so we could also get any thoughts or wonderings or what have you that any of the participants might have had. So some things came from that. Some of those 5 priority areas that came from that: student voices, increased bilingual supports coming. There were lots of different examples of what that meant. Some of it had to do just someone to be able to have language support more often around Spanish, but also just about some of the other languages that we have in our district. Programs highlighting cultures in a positive light. So what other type of programming, engagement, conversations, what can we do to continue to cultivate that? And then teacher support and resources just kind of in a general way. So those are some of the themes that kind of came from the feedback. This is really small. Let's see if I can blow this up. Here we go. Very good. Okay. So with regards to the feedback from the summit, these are not all of the comments, but we tried to basically had chart fun to see what are the things that we're saying and were they similar, not similar, just trying to group them in that way. So it's important to hear from our students as they are the most impacted by our actions. And to me, that resonated for the work we're doing, because sometimes we're so busy asking each other that we forget who we need to ask and be sure that what we're thinking is what students need and want. We need to be sure that that's coming from students as well. Letting students have a chance to speak continues to be things that resonate, and we want to hear their voices. Parents want to hear their voices, community, teachers, everyone wants to hear what they have to say. And I think that's the right direction for us to be focusing in on. Some other ones I just want to kind of highlight here is just seeing different points of views. It's valuable to see where we are collectively and what direction we should move towards. So I think it's just a good opportunity to have a conversation. I always think if all the goals and outcomes that we're seeking for the Equity Summit or any other type of opportunity like that, if nothing else, it's an opportunity to have a conversation, have authentic conversations, and through those conversations, we can definitely learn from them. And then lastly, builds trust by bringing community together for meaningful discussion on focused topics. And so with that feedback, I think it's great because it does validate that it's a good experience. There may be some new things coming around our Equity Summit and what we want to do, and we'll have more to come on that as we get more feedback. Okay. Big trends, you saw some of those earlier, but I want to speak to them just a little bit more with some of the information that came with that. Some of the teacher support and resources really was around how to support our English language learners, how to support our newcomers. This year, we've had quite an influx of newcomers to all of our schools. So none of our schools are excluded in this, it's across the district. And so they're seeking those inputs and strategies to be more effective with students outside the classroom, but also in their instructional practice as well. So that's coming our way. Parent outreach efforts, I don't know why I was surprised to see this, but I really was. But I was actually very excited to see it because we have been trying to do this and it's kind of been, we've tried different strategies. Some things have been effective, some things have not been as effective, but it was really good to see how important this was to the entire community that was a part of the summit. Some of the ideas that came from that is just like a safe person always to be on the campus for a parent when they arrive, no matter who they are, just some safe person to talk to a parent were some of the themes and conversations. We had another meeting earlier this week and one of the comments that was made from that was one of the parents talked about like, sometimes I don't know if I can really be a volunteer, for example, and what that would really mean. And there could be some fear factor for some families because that requires fingerprinting, that requires you got to do this background check. And so that was really a good thing for us to be reminded of on how we can validate that fear that we might know about or we may not know about, but being aware of that as a part of our processes so we put things in place to support some of those fears that are there that we may never know about, but we just have to kind of lay a foundation even to be sure that if they are there, we kind of help soften the blow for those families that might be experiencing that. The welcoming first interactions to build trust and establish relationships. This was not just for parents, but this was just for anyone who's coming on our campuses or to our district. Like they should know that when they come to Sunnyvale, they feel really welcome. They're going to be validated, and that the questions are going to be answered and supported. They may not get the decision they want. They may not get what the request was, but at least they can feel good about asking the questions that they want to ask and be validated and coming forth. So those were some things that were tied to that particular item. And then programs highlighting cultures in a positive light. There were all kinds of things related to that. There was information about cultural nights. There was information about food. There was information about different parents coming together to just talk about what it means to be a parent. There was opportunities for families who have children who have special needs, a place for them to just come and talk about what does it mean to be a parent who has a child with special needs. So those were just a few of the themes that were a part of that particular highlight. And so it just continues to validate the opportunity that we need to talk more often, and it's through the talking and the communication and building of relationships that we go back to that big topic why we started having the summit in the first place, was to begin building our race relations and understanding the cultures and the things that make each of us who we are. The bilingual support, we talked about it, it resonated again. And then there were some things around basic needs is kind of how we grouped it. It might have been about transportation. It might have been the time of an event when it's taking place. It was a whole bunch of things, but in the essence of it was about that basic need. How do you make this work for a family who may have different type schedules or whatever the case might be? So that's kind of an overview of that feedback, which has been very meaningful. Okay. There was also a question around the special education feedback. So this was an initiative that was led by Paul Slayton, our director of student supports, and Linda Van Mark on special education. This is something we wanted to do last year. It didn't happen, so we were adamant it was going to happen this year. And so basically the way that took place is we sent that out to all special education families in the district. In addition to it being a time to just talk and hear their thoughts, it was also an opportunity for us to give them something that they've been asking for. So we had Dr. Lustig, who was a part of that session, and just giving dialogue and time for them to talk about some of the issues and concerns they have with being a parent of a child with special needs. And I feel it was very successful. Parents who were there got what they needed. I know staff were frustrated and disappointed because we wanted the room like so full we couldn't let them all come in, but that didn't happen. But it was a very engaging group. And what's most important is that those who were present valued the time, appreciated the time, and really shared some very meaningful things that they need that we're following up on and we're putting in place for next school year, like just a dedicated time for special education families. So that's some of the work from that. You can see their comments there and some of the things that they're talking about. And we're definitely going to be incorporating this into our LCAP plan, some of these items, and then some of this will be a part of our larger plan focusing on parent engagement this year.
I have a clarification question.
Yes.
When you say parents of students with in special education, do you mean the ones who are in special day classes or anyone with an IEP or 504?
IEP is who we focus on. Parents who have a child who has an IEP.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. We didn't emphasize 504, but yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. We have some feedback here from our DLAC family night that was led as well. Some of the items that came out of that particular meeting were just clarification around the LPAC test results. And I think that's a bit of a theme that we see probably year to year. So trying to break up, how do we message that? What and how should they, there's kind of what the state says we should do, but then there's what do parents need? And so,
You got a person nodding approval.
That's exactly what I came here for a few weeks ago.
Okay. Okay, very good. So we're trying to so break that apart so it has a little bit more meaning for our families, and more importantly, helping them interpret what that information means to them as a parent to support their child. So again, this will be a part of our larger parent engagement plan. We've actually already alerted some of our coaches because somewhat tied to this is they've been working on a newcomer kit for our teachers. And so they're working on that, and we're trying to fine tune that and fit that, because it's an overwhelming document. There's a lot there, but when you're tired, that big document, so we're trying to break that out. Principals are thinking about that and how we chunk that out for them. But a part of that plan is also how do we engage our families? What do we do for them? How do we educate them to support us in this work and for us to support them? And then the other was just around, you'll see there around like resources process, extra courses in high school, if they did, if the child didn't reclassify. So that's something that will be a part of our articulation process a little bit, understanding what happens at the high school. And we'll be coming to you in a couple of weeks to talk a little bit more about that. But what does that really mean, and what role can we have in supporting that, given that's kind of more of the high school district, but what can we do in support of that for families? So this is just some of the feedback, it's not everything, but some of the more critical feedback that was shared with us. Okay, all right, jumping into a little bit of the progress and actions. Again, this is not all actions, but this is kind of what makes sense to talk about a little bit now before all the data's in. Really, all of our data won't really be in until probably more towards the end of April when we start to finalize everything in May for the final LCAP plan. But one of those goals was all K-8 students in special education have supplemental math and English language arts intervention materials. That was at the time that was done, baseline was 33%, and not something that we are proud of to learn that it wasn't there. But we good that we found out, and so through the leadership of the team, we've gotten the majority of that in the hands of who needed the materials. And for those who don't have it, it had to do with some teacher issues and other things, but the reality is it's still not there. But more so there than not, and supporting those teachers and supporting students. 100% of second grader students at the grade level based on local benchmark data, and then looking at the math performance in spring 2021 as in comparison to where we are now. And so we are seeing gains with regards to the assessment of students. Some of our more critical groups, we're seeing some progression, but not to the degree that we need or want to see. So we will continue our emphasis on our English language learners next year, as well as we will continue to strengthen instructional practices, because what we do know is from what we're learning from the data is that continuing to improve upon our instructional practices will be critical. The next area is with regards to our expulsions. We, for many years, have had the benefit of having 0 expulsions. But at this time, we've had some anomalies out there, just random acts that I can only call them random. They're outliers, but they're real, right? And so, so we're addressing those and still following our protocol, the restorative practices with our students and our families. What can we do to support some of those situations? But unfortunately, these anomalies are the ones where they're mandatory, they're CDE regulated. So we had to bring those forward. But I think our team there has been doing a good job of really engaging families, really helping them understand what their rights are, what options they have available, and then how we can support them as a part of this process so that they learn from it and that the students learn from it, and that we don't see these type of actions again. The other one I want to highlight a little bit is about our parents. You know, I talked a lot earlier about feedback, things they want to see, but while it's not 100% of our families responding to these surveys, no matter how we do surveys, families are responding very positively more often than not. This is from our fall panorama survey data. And again, it does point to the positivity that families are feeling on the campus. They are feeling welcome. Even when they're frustrated and upset, they still feel like they, more often than not, they can bring forth their concerns to us. And I think that's very positive, and that will allow us to continue to grow in that area. And then on Goal 5, with regards to students learning, with learning English, we met or exceeded standards on the ELA state assessment. This is the area where we have continued to focus on our English language learners this year. This is the area that we've got to figure out. Our teachers are saying we've got to figure it out, and we're going to be coming to you later with some things that we are shifting this year with regards to our phonics pilot that we're working on right now. We're also doing an English language arts pilot right now. And while you've heard us say many times, it's not, we don't teach curriculum. The curriculum is not what's important. It's about how we're teaching and instructing students. But the reality is there were some gaps in some of the resources that we have. And through this pilot, we will figure out what some of those gaps are and come forth with some additional materials that will be much more supportive to our teachers, especially in teaching some of these early reading skills for students. And when we say early reading skills, it's not about age, it's about where they are developmentally in their reading and where are those gaps, how can we screen, and then how can we intervene where those particular gaps exist. Okay. So with that, I know that was a lot of information, but I would like to pause now to give the board an opportunity to ask questions, points of clarification, and things that you would like for me to think about. So let me get a pen because I forgot that.
Okay, so I think we should open for comments first. Oh, sorry, I thought you were done.
Oh, no, this is an opportunity. Yes.
She's ready to
Yeah, yeah. Opportunity for the board to ask questions, of course, about the contents tonight, but also an opportunity to conversate if there's something you haven't heard or think we need to think about as we go through this process to address any action steps. This year would not be to change a goal per se, because we're in year 2 of that, but it's definitely an opportunity to revise, revamp any of the actions that we currently have that go beneath the goal areas.
Do we have comment from the public?
Yeah.
for that? Yeah.
Let's do that.
So no, I didn't comment. Well, so now this is the time for public comments on this particular item. Is the study session on the local control and accountability plan. So if any member of the public has questions about this item, item 3, please raise your hand, your electronic hand, or bring your card. You can write your name.
Is this the card?
Yes,
You try to use
please.
it.
We'll take a second for that. So this portion of the agenda is an opportunity for members of the public to address us on this item. The limits allocated for public testimony are 3 minutes per person and 20 minutes for public comments. Speakers are asked to give their names and affiliations so that we can count with an accurate record and we can follow through. And this will also be reflected in the minutes. If you are in person, please provide us with a speaker card. If you would like to speak during this session remotely, you can also raise your electronic hand on Zoom. And it will give us, if you would like to speak, now is the time. As a reminder, per our board bylaws, the 9323, the board shall not prohibit public criticism of its policies, procedures, programs, services, acts of or omissions. During public comments, we encourage speakers to discuss issues with civility, to treat people whose opinion differ from their own with respect, and to focus on ideas, policies, and values. Okay. We have one person here. We have more. This is for ELPAC. Okay, this is for later. This is for later. This is for later. And then we have one person on this item, 3A. Anyone online too? No? Okay, so please come on. And we have Camila Santos. Please, you have 3 minutes and your time will be over there.
Yes, okay. Hi, my name is Camila Santos again. Hello. So I'm really happy that you brought up the feedback for the Equity Summit because for LPAC in particular, I have many issues with how it is given, how it is given to the students and how the teachers need to administer the test. And also the fact that bilingual children have to take the test even though they live in a household that they speak English and other languages. And they are classified as English learners, assuming the fact that they don't speak English enough or proficient. And I think one of the reasons why we also may be having many students classified as English learners is because by the survey, starting with the survey, parents are not aware that their children will have to take this test. That's one. Second, children are not being trained to take this tremendous, difficult test for their age and for their even entering the school environment. And third, I really believe it's unfair, racist, and discriminatory having children who are bilingual to take this test. So I would hope that I have one suggestion, actually, if now that you took feedback from parents, students from the Equity Summit, I would love also if you could involve parents and students who are bilingual so they could share with you their experience on taking this test. because for many of the parents, they're not aware of this test until their children receive a certificate saying that they passed this test. So I think it's a huge topic. It's also federal, but I think we could start by wording the survey at the registration form. That's one. And second, continue to take the feedback. And I really appreciate the summit and this board for listening and for taking everything. 30 seconds. Thank you.
Okay, so now is the time for the board comments. Board, who wants to speak first?
Isabel, if you'd like, if it's okay, I can address
Yes.
the comment. I really appreciate you bringing that up, and I appreciate that you called to attention what's a mandate and what we can do to make it better, like live within the mandate, right? And so I want to hear more about that, and I know Dr. Dean's making notes right now, because we need to do better with the hand that we're dealt, right? We need to do much better. I also, while I haven't heard conversation at the state level about the LPAC test in particular, there is, I am aware of the state legislature being aware of the bias inherent in standardized tests. I'm thinking particularly of some of the tests required to become a teacher. And they're starting to relax those because they're recognizing that they're full of bias, they're have racist outcomes and similar. So what I would encourage you to do is to, and I'd be happy to work with you on this, is to contact legislators, because I think if they hear the voices of parents about the racist impact of this, that is resonating with our state legislature. So I think, that doesn't happen overnight, but I think maybe it could make a difference. So I just wanted to let you know that, and I'd be happy to work with you on that.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Also, I do have more comments and questions about that particular.
Well, you're the president. Go for it.
But I know what we're not supposed to make decisions about it, but it's about, so if you put there that your kid speak another language, and I remember that you speak another language at home, you are bilingual, I heard before that all the issues that can entitle, so we just decided not to add that information. But I also heard that the first one is to put your kid on the learning English is the kindergarten teacher when she comes and talks with your kid the first day. So it's enough to her to say like he's an English learner and we're gonna put him in the classroom, or everybody who say yes?
No. As soon as we answer the survey asks the question, how many languages does this child speak other than English? And if you say any language other than English, they're automatically classified as English learners, automatically. And that's even on the website of LPAC.
Yeah, and that's the law, but I think that also the kindergarten teacher in the first meeting with the kids, she can assess.
for staff right now.
Staff, yes.
Yeah.
She can assess the kid, isn't it?
Well, my kids weren't assessed. They were assumed just because I answered that they speak English and Portuguese.
Dasha?
So I want to be sure I'm clear on your question. So are you saying the first day of a kindergarten teacher, are they giving the student a test?
No, when you start as a kindergarten, you get like a month or so before, or the first week, you get your kid assessed by the teachers, and that's how they fill the classrooms.
So when my child started kindergarten, there was TK, there was those couple of weeks before that were super short because the TK teacher had to do assessments, individual assessments, and we'd have to sign up for a time or something. And during that time period, I think she was also doing some initial screening. And if you checked that your child if you checked the box and said that your child spoke a different language than English, I think there was some additional testing that she did or that the school did, I'm not entirely sure.
Right, so those are screenings to inform the teacher. So the idea for those screenings is to get a sense where students are functioning developmentally as well as pre-academic skills. And then from there, the teacher can begin to think about the classroom, what types of supports might be needed within the classroom. So that's the mindset about that. But it's not tied back to the LPAC. That's actually just for all students in general. It's not tied to that.
And then you build the classrooms there, isn't it, to make all equitable, the ones who can read a little with the ones who are reading a lot, to the ones who have no exposure in kindergarten, and then you.
Yeah, the idea is to
Classroom.
balance, we balance the best we can, but yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So before we jump to something else, before we jump to something else, I just, I like that idea, and I don't know if we've done it, but like, we can't change the LPAC, right? We can go like legislate, but that idea of asking like families, right? And like the students, like, how can we make this test experience more successful, right? So that was great feedback. And shoot, I had one other thing, so I wrote it down. Go ahead.
I think there's something inherently inequitable in how the test is spoken about within our communities, because it's like, people tell other people, like, if you know, you tell, your friend, like, don't check that box or whatever.
Which is what she said, right?
Right, but not everyone knows that, and so that's.
The
That's a
box is
problem.
on several forms.
Right.
It's across several forms. It's worded in several ways, like.
Right.
So this was my other throw out. It's probably not really like feasible because I know that test is time consuming. But what if we like did an experiment and had all of our kids take the test and like see how they did, right? So I know it's probably not feasible, but is there a way, like, that's the like out of the box thinking, what can we realistically do related to that out of the box thinking? And that was all about my LPACs.
Yeah, because we do have quite a few kids that don't read to level, and they are not English learners. And those kids, I mean, fairly, they will also need to have extra help in reading English too, just as the English learner. Oh, yes, Nancy?
Yes, so I think it invites a conversation to be more explicit at the time that families sign up and start to look at these forms. An explanation of the why, in addition to what it is, would be helpful. That way, we're giving clear information and they can make an informed decision about understanding what they are, the why of we're asked, or the why is the ask for, but what we can learn from this to support your children and how this supports their children's learning is equally as important. So that the misinformation about how the community perceives it and the is addressed up front. And I'm wondering, even in our beginning sign-ups, open registration, that's something that we could address up front about just a slide of, these are the types of forms that you're going to be receiving. These are the whys we're doing this. And you can make your decision from there, but just having them be empowered to know that it's coming and know that and understand the reasons and the rationales that we're asking for this additional support testing to occur.
Thank you.
Hey, and I just want to give a time check. We have about 10 minutes. We want to jump into other LCAP related stuff.
I have something I want to say about the LCAP. It ties in a little bit. This, I think, the thing that, regardless of informing people and about our intentions and what's going on and listening to them, I think also the comment speaks to an issue of deficit thinking around English learners, right? For multilingual learners, they're already proficient in another language. It's thought of as they're behind, and the expectations, quite honestly, in many cases are low. And so I think that we need to really lean in on how we're teaching our multilingual learners and welcoming them and the families. So a lot of it is conversation, but I think it's gonna have to go in our practice. I have some specific things like as a wish list, and I would appreciate taking it as, I think Jeremy summed it up one time as like, you know, I'm just listening to what you're saying because it's like, just listen to what I'm saying, like the little bit of rationale behind it, but like, don't take it as like, this is the explicit list, even though I would love the list. Do you know what I mean? Like the
Yes.
why is in there.
Yes.
So first of all, so I'm just gonna give it really fast because I know everyone wants to talk, but like when we see this LCAP, my dream would be that we would see some sort of a standard for our English ELD 1 and 2 for our newcomers, some sort of standards that said there is a lower class size and there are multiple adults in the room, supporting and encouraging in whatever ways that they need. We had in our middle schools, we have kids who are coming here as unaccompanied minors who have some needs. We have other kids who are here and it's the first time that they're here in the area, and there's other people that are coming in that have tons of support. So in that classroom, there could be a variety of needs, but I know that some of those classrooms are really big this year, and I don't think that the kids who are coming here at the end of the school year in ELD 1 with having, you know, just sometimes they come in with 3 or 4 languages that they're speaking, but they don't have their English skills, and other students may come in and not have much schooling, and other kids come in with a ton of school. So anyway, they're probably not switching classrooms. So I would just love more support and more standardized support across, especially in middle school, for those large classrooms that we're having. I would love to see some sheltered science and math and Spanish at our middle schools in particular, but where the numbers are sufficient. I would love for heritage speakers of Spanish to have access to math, so that they're not, so that they're well served with math. I would love for us to see more extended time. So extended time, whether that's after school or clubs during school, or maybe a special bridge over a break or something, or a Saturday program, or some sort of extended time for the kids who are far below grade level. And that also includes probably busing. For middle school, I would love to see, I think that the busing is tied to equitable outcomes that we're seeing for our, all of our multilingual learners and our socioeconomically disadvantaged students. I think transportation is going to be tied to extended time and tutoring. I would love to see Strive at both middle schools. I think this idea that it's only a one school solution is not true. I think it's possible at both middle schools. I think it's needed at both middle schools. And I think we have a board that would, in general, supporting those kids. And it would allow backup so the program won't die, because I think the need is going to continue. And, you know, I think in the board packet, someone was saying that what was a critique of the equity summit. I think it was a really good roundtable, but I think that because the same group wasn't there year to year, I think last year we had a lot of data around the why of like how our students who speak Spanish are underserved. And this year that data wasn't present. So I know at some of the tables, there were conversations of like, let's just serve all kids. Why are we focusing on Spanish speaking kids? And there was, I mean, well, at least one gentleman who was pretty loud about it. And I think that that's fine for him to have that opinion, but I don't feel like he was presented with the data. And I think if we're going to continue to socialize more equitable outcomes for all of our students, I think that, and we're going to have different people in there, we're going to start raising expectations like, yeah, we're looking at this group. I think we ought to have that data available, even if it's just as an intro. And then the other thing is the fact that, you know, like we just have to, I personally think that we just have to get out of our thinking that like we do with our schools. I think speakers of Spanish have to be able to get up and move around just like everybody else. I think that's really critical. They can't just, even though it's more convenient for them to stay there and have the translating service and have access to the board. If everyone's getting up and moving, we should all get up and move. That's my feedback. Okay.
Thank you.
I didn't get an invitation to the parents of students with special education. I feel like I should have, or maybe I just missed it, but my son has an IEP. I would have liked to come to this. I'm curious about the outreach for that, and I am curious about what we do for outreach, especially for younger children. I feel like when I go out into the community, people, when they recognize me as a school board member, it's like one or two things. And the first one is something, and then the second one is like, I feel I can talk to you about special education because you've talked about a public setting and you look like me. Because I feel like there's so much shame, especially in certain ethnic communities where there's an inbuilt culture, achievement culture thing where my kid needs special education. What do you mean? And I'm really curious about what we as a district do to mitigate that, to like either to make the parents feel better or encourage acceptance of these needs, or just encourage parents to reach out to communities and support groups when we have those, when there's so much shame around it. That was the thought I was marinating on. I have other thoughts, but I lost them. Thank you.
I just am a little bit concerned, Bridget. I know you shared like your thing at the beginning, but you basically went through, I think, a list of hows, which is not our role as board members, right? I like, right, like sticking to the like after you gave a whole list, then you shared something that was, it was like a good question, I can't remember what it was, but it was like, this is what I want to see, like kind of what Eileen just said, right? And I think that's an important space, especially if like LCAP next year, right? Like our job is not the how, right? I think us remembering that is super important, right? And that's just gonna transition like a little bit to something in board packet that we were talking about for like, you know, next year is then like, this is just like slight tweaks. And then next year we have our big like redo LCAP for like a 3-year. And we're talking about that. I think it'll be helpful if we haven't as a board really been able to be involved with kind of the specific goals and measurables. And I think that's where our space should be, right? So an example like, oh, it was the ELD support. You said, I want more support for the ELD students, right? Like that was the question, right? It's like in my, as you were talking, right? Like my vision is next.
Or I want them to
LCAP.
I want them to be able to develop the standards for that.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what that is.
But we
like,
want more
I want
support. Yeah, we want more support for them, right? So that's the thing. We, with staff, come up with the goal, which I think is what you want, but just listed these hows, and I was like, oh, that just isn't so good. But that's kind of what I was talking with Mike and kind of, I mean, Eileen was there, like, that's my hope, is that as a board, we can be more involved, like with those measurables, like the goals and the measurables, right? And maybe like the staff comes with a specific goal and we push like, hey, is there a chance we could go 12% instead of 10%, or right? Just a little bit of like, we all kind of have this buying and work together of that. Anyway, so that was just kind of, wanted to share that, and then that spin-off piece, and that's kind of all I had.
Well, and like, just so you know, like when I think like for the last couple of years, like we've been talking about like what's happening with the, you know, the English learners and stuff, right? Like we've just been getting tons of data on that. So like for me, I feel like the more we socialize this with people, like, and say like when we're at the Equity Summit and there's people are writing on posters and they're talking about ideas that they like, I mean, they're really specific on the posters, right? And just like Tasha's like pulling out themes from that, right? Like I just want to be clear that like I really feel like if they like to not, I feel like we get so tied up in the fact that like, well, we've never done this before, right? And like, so if there's an opportunity to innovate and like really lean in to support like this group of kids who are pretty underserved right now, like I think that we should.
Yeah,
That's
so
what I
as a
really
board,
want.
right? So then as the board, right, I think we're on the same page, right? At the end of the day, we're on the same page. We want more support for them. Let's be creative. Staff, come back with ideas.
right? Like,
Yeah. It's expensive.
Nancy, is that from before or is anyone?
It's just, I want to make sure that we are setting the goals and not the one right way of how to do things. Because as we're looking at data and we're siloing the data, we need to think of this as a whole child. This is and think more holistically about what we can do to support children, because not all English language learners are alike. Not all low socioeconomic students are alike. Not all students who have special needs are alike. So we need to be able to differentiate and meet children and family where they're at, not where we think they fall. So staff has a better awareness of the diversity within those subgroups of who we need to reach. And we need to allow that flexibility and capacity that we have to be able to serve them differently. So doing the same thing and expecting different results doesn't work. We need to be creative to do things differently if our strategies aren't working. And I think our staff is if we allow them, can pivot very deftly to meet those needs.
Thank you. You wanna?
Just want to add one more thing. I agree with Nancy that the staff does do a great job of pivoting to meet needs, and that's like the epitome of the principals and the teachers and all the support staff, everybody, all the OTs and the speech therapists. I feel like they do a lot of pivoting all day. They probably feel like they're going crazy with all the pivoting. So I appreciate that. You know, and I just worry that if we're not very intentional about adding, we know if some things work. Like, even though not everybody's the same, that's kind of the point, right? Is if we add some more resources where we know that there's a lot of differentiation necessary, I feel like there probably is a better chance of success. And I know that in some places, like a school budget might have some wiggle room and they're able to, or they might have somebody who happens to speak Spanish and they're able to assign them a certain way. And that's very convenient. But when money, as each individual principal is managing their resources, I feel like as a district, if there was some, if there was some way to ask those groups, we have a couple of months, we're talking about next year, maybe there's a way to figure out what a more appropriate ratio should be, what is the need, instead of thinking of what do we have, how can this one teacher support these students that all have these different needs? Why don't we think about, could we think about it from the student center, right? What does this group of students need, considering that they're highly diverse? You know what I mean? Could we flip it? That would be my preference, and
That's a good
that's the
reminder.
dream.
Yeah, that's a good reminder.
I have a question. So the purpose of this is to tweak the LCAP. I'm wondering if, because of the unexpected influx of newcomers, we should add a specific action to goal 5 to address that. I don't think it's something that at the time the LCAP was developed was anticipated, and so would that be now?
I think that makes sense.
It's absolutely, and there is an action about newcomers, but we're gonna be a little bit more robust about that. But there is currently a bit of language in there, I forgot which action it is, that does speak to that, but we definitely are aware that we need to do something a little bit more grandiose than we have just because of what we've seen this year.
That's actually a perfect example
Yeah.
of what a mid 3-year cycle update would be, like, oh, conditions changed in this way.
Right.
Let's
Yeah.
make a tweak.
Maybe also a tweak around the homelessness of youth.
Yes.
Because even though
That's
our
changed.
enrollment's declining, we're seeing higher numbers. Like we said, Jeremy told us 6 times the number, right? And
Mhm.
I think that was what you,
2 to 3 times more.
yeah, oh, 2 to 3 times more.
Right, 30
Okay.
some odd last year, we're already beyond that mid.
Okay. Cause yeah,
Okay, so,
One more suggestion for with regard to goal 4, foster a welcoming and inclusive environment for parents, families, and community stakeholders. I'd like, and this sounds after everything, so shallow, but I'd like to add some like aesthetic element to that, like to make it welcoming aesthetically as well, like make it colorful and happy. And one of the things, like, for example, that San Miguel has is they have the flags of the world in their multi. And I love that. I think it's so welcoming, and I'd like to see something at like the other schools that's aesthetically pleasing and welcoming as well.
Somebody mentioned, I can't remember what gym, we were in some gym and they were like, oh, this gym is like more, like, it was nothing on the walls. I'm like, oh, another gym had lots of stuff on the walls.
I think that was Lakewood.
Oh, yeah.
That's why it's on the
That is not that community.
okay, so, yes, some of my, what I really care about most of the important points that I think we all care and the LPAC. I think that as a general goal, not telling you how to do it, as Michelle said, we would like to check more on the status of our anti-racist training for everybody, because that will definitely benefit our kids, and mostly like directly in the classroom and directly to the people that is actually acting with the kids. I think that's gonna make a big difference in our numbers and how our LPAC kids are gonna be served at the end, and how they're gonna be, the resources that they're gonna have and the attention that they're gonna get. Then it will be, as a general goal, also taking in consideration the amount of grown-ups or trained adults that are like the ratio between them and the kids who needs more help, like our LPAC kids in general and our English learners in general. As we noticed in one of our walk, that we have classes that ELDs that are really crowded with just one teacher, and these are kids that have all very different needs. And again, we come back to, I don't know the how, but definitely our big wish is to create a way to raise the quality of maybe the training and the teaching somehow, so the kids don't get to middle school. Like, the only kids that we have in middle school who are English learners are the ones that are arriving, not the ones that have never been outside United States. Definitely not those. And not the kids who have more than 2 years, maybe 3 at the top. But that shouldn't be a thing that happened to anyone here. So that's one of my questions about the hours of PDs. I don't know the how, but can we figure out how to help people, to help our kids in a more student-centric way? Extended time, we talk about that we've been talking about that a lot this year. I don't know the how, but it will be as a goal that people who need will have it, and we definitely have people to need. We are pretty good at that 80% of our population. Is the 20% that they don't teach themselves? We need to do it, and we need to put extra. And is that extended time, before, after, between, when? I, as an LPAC vision, part of the most important things is to have our kids in the classroom and to get to those extended options and to get to those extra curricular things that we want them to have a more rounded kid. So in order to get them there, to have them as in the extracurriculars, to get into the extended options that we will offer because we're gonna do an awesome job. We do need to get them there if they cannot get them there by themselves. So part of the discussion of transportation that we'll be having this year should be somehow represented in our LPAC. We're gonna be able to get the kids so we can teach them and keep them there so they can be rounded kids. Yes, I agree with I don't know the how, but if there is a way to help our kids in math or LPAT kids that are failing in math, support them in their own language, it will be also pretty good. So we don't have that all the kids who are behind in English or the kids who don't know how to speak English are also way behind in math. So if we can support them, giving them a little bridge to the English math with shelter math, and then of course in other things as possible, I think that will be a great goal. So they don't fail in absolutely everything. We do have, it's very important that we have a particular goal about not just the newcomers, and I just learned that we have a significant, it's not a small amount as we thought, a significant part of the community that is a migrant community or somehow transit population. So those are special need kids and those are part of our LPAC. So if we need to support them and we need to give enough attention and we need to put enough of our LPAC money into that. But again, that's not such a big population. A lot of our English learners who are here have been here for a long time. And again, I think it's really like that article that we all share, like it's almost like abuse to have them here for so many years without learning how to read in English at academic level. What was the expression of the article? It wasn't
Child abuse.
Child abuse, yes. That we shouldn't have a kid here for more than 3 years and not being able to read and a grade level on English. That's just horrible. So yeah, we need to put our money there, and that's, we need to figure out how to make sure that our LPAC serve everybody. And if that needs, because we do have, between this migrant community, transit population, we have kids who are newcomer, we have kids who are very, in a very, like either homeless or have a very low socioeconomical income situation, they are suffering for hardships in many ways. And then they're starting to be teenagers and change. If we have to give support, I'm not telling you the how, I don't say Strive is the answer because we are not gonna say the how, but if that's the answer, then you figure it out or figure out something else, but that would be also a goal, how to, these kids who are in so much trouble not because they are trouble kids, but because the war and the life have put them there. And now they're experiencing hormones and growing and all this stuff. If they need extra help, they should get it from us.
I think with Strive, like she just said Strive. So just with Strive, I was just thinking, that's a program that we know has been adaptable and working. So, I think for me, it's just a matter of if we have things that we know work and that have been working, why would we learn from ourselves, so. And we're looking at the expulsion numbers, I think that there's possibly a need.
Okay, 7:15.
Just wanna wrap up. Thank you, board, for that input. Is that all? Is that all you have? No. But anyway, this is our timeline. So this is our timeline. So when we come back for our June 1st final draft, what will be coming would be updated actions that are incorporating the different feedback that we've gotten. And then when we come back again, we'll be coming in June, on June 22nd, and then that would kind of include any final inputs that we've gotten, and including our financial information with Lori. And so with that, you are right. Let's keep moving. All of this, be innovative. You gave me a lot of innovation cards, so Mike will probably be nervous on Monday. And then we will continue to use our framework to guide our practice, looking at our climate, looking at resources. What should those resources be? Being very systematic in the things that we're doing, and being sure that the thing we've really been trying to think about is anything we do, how can we keep it so that it's sustainable over time? And so that's a big part of that one. And then of course the academics, which we talked about here a lot. And so with doing that and moving forward, we know that together we're stronger, and with that, our students will get what they need. And thank you, board.
Thank you. I guess we just pause through and then we need to pause it like 8. Okay, 5 minutes?
No, I'm saying let's just go right now.
Let's just go.
Let's just start and then take a break like at 8:18.
Oh, okay, perfect. So, yeah, I think that's. Okay, so.
Got one fan.
That finish our study session for today. That's item 3 on the agenda, and now we are moving to item 4, comments from the board and superintendent. If we go down the line, Nancy.
So I'm really mindful, being in Florida right now, of individual parent voice and how it can be disruptive to school systems when things are not looked at in a thoughtful and systemic way. I found it, so I'm seeing school districts being challenged about curriculums that are using materials that have been well researched and well utilized for expressing diversity and just distressed that parents are concerned, not because of how they're being used, but different items of it that they find objectionable and want everything thrown out. I think I'm appreciative of our board and of our district that we do listen to parent concerns, that we invite conversations, that we have that balance between trying to meet the needs of individual parents and looking at what is appropriate for students as a whole, but allowing parents to opt out if they have individual concerns related to their own individual student and maintaining their values. So that's what I just have been dealing with this week as I'm reading about books like Anne Frank being banned, Ruby Bridges, a movie being considered being pulled from a curriculum. I'm glad that it seems like more common sense is being brought to the situation, but I just want to make sure that if we're talking about parent engagement, if parents have individual concerns, they can take it to their teacher, they can express their concerns and bring things up through the process. But I appreciate that we have created an atmosphere where parents can come together at the Equity Summit, talk about different things, and that we're working on more ways of having more thoughtful dialogue around being inclusive and being children's learning, not only in academic sense, but also in accurate historical context as well.
Thank you. Bridget?
Okay, just a couple quick things. Next week, Thursday at 1 p.m. is the SCCSBA Lunch and Learn with Dr. Dewan. And then at 6 p.m. is the Sunnyvale Education Foundation Mixer. So they would love it if the board would come. If you're available, please consider it. And it's open to the public. Also, on May 10th, at 6 p.m., the Hoffman Awards will be at Metro Ed. And congratulations again to the Juntos program as the Hoffman winner this year. There'll be 4 complimentary tickets for each district winner. And on top of that, tickets will be available starting Monday. And Jesus can register us. And the last thing is that I have is that to report out is that at SMS office hours with Dr. Gallagher and with Trustee Kubes Flemmerich, a lot of the concerns were about transportation and a couple of construction questions. They were very concerned about the transportation services, and it looks like some of them are here tonight. So, and I think that there was a couple other notes I took, but I think it was mostly people were very excited to hear excited about all the programs going on at SMS and, you know, the different activities that we're opening up on campus. So.
I want to thank everyone who made it to the Sunnyvale Unity event that happened last month at Lakewood. I couldn't make it, I had COVID. I don't recommend getting COVID, it was terrible. It was terrible for like 3 days and then it was just no. The next Sunnyvale Unity Series event, we're still deciding on a location, but please pencil the date in for May 11th. That will be the bystander intervention training that was a very much requested by the Lakewood community when we started talking about this event. And then in June, on June 29th, again, pencil it in, we don't have a location yet, will be the culmination of the series. It will be the last that I know of that we're doing for this particular incident, the de-escalation training, June 29th. We don't have locations or times yet. It'll be in the evening somewhere. I also want to put in a plug for the Transportation Roundtable on May 20th. That's going to be happening from 9:30 to 11:30 at Columbia Middle School. This was pulled together by Peggy Brewster from Sunnyvale for Equity in Education. I think the title of the roundtable is going to be the transportation problem for youth in North Sunnyvale, and it's going to have VTA there as well as the Fremont Union High School Board. And Peggy moved mountains to make sure that it happened in North Sunnyvale in a place that would be accessible to that community. It's going to be, the focus is going to be on the high school transportation, but I feel like other transportation issues will come up as well. For the rest, I have sent my activities to Jesus.
Just wanted to say, a few of us attended the Evan Lowe, he had a school board member luncheon. And he spent a lot of time, like people were giving thoughts and input and feedback. And so it was a great event and appreciated him and his staff for doing that. And then the thing, 2 meetings ago, but we were like short on time, so I didn't share, is I would just love, so I've been reading I don't remember the title, but Tracy Benson, and he did it with Sarah, I don't remember her last name, but the Unconscious Bias book that stops right. I've been not reading, I listened, but I've been reading that book and there's just like lots of cool stuff and I've been taking notes and there's stuff that I would like love to like talk with the board about. So I don't know if there's a time to, for us to do that, but that is something that I would love doing in the next couple of months. And that's it.
Like as a discussion item, like read a chapter and.
Whatever it might be, I just have like things I want to share. So yeah, it could be, and like, or we used to do like 20-minute little equity discussion kind of things, like, don't care like how it looks, but just would love an opportunity.
That would be great to follow in the, you know, with the idea of all of us having like a discussion about something that we read and.
Oh, I don't know.
Yes.
Okay, and I had another thing, which is that there's currently an opening on the Fremont Union High School Board, the seat is gonna be filled by appointment. They're taking applications now. This is the first time that, well, this is a seat that is open on the high school board because trustee Roy Rockland unfortunately passed away. And he was a great person and everyone's very sad that he passed away. The board is going to be taking applications, I believe it's through April 21st. The applications are on their website right now. Also in progress at the high school level is that they're going to be developing their trustee areas and there's going to be outreach to the community and we've been pushing them to make sure that outreach is robust and bilingual. But they're looking for a new trustee, and if you know anyone who wants to apply, please encourage them to do so.
Okay, now as a final comment before we get to the superintendent. Well, this has been, because we had last time the governance meeting, it has been a long time since we reported. I just remember like 3 other things that I need to send to Jesus, but I did send to Jesus most of my activities. But one of them last week, I think it was last week, we celebrated at the Santa Clara School, Santa Clara County Office of Education, some of our schools, our California Distinguished Schools. We had 3 of them and we were able to share for a little bit, just like an hour and a half with everybody in the district, in the county. So it was very good. And then we had that incredible event for the Unity Committee. I also wanted to make sure that everybody is aware of the CLSBA conference this year, and it would be great if we actually all go or have a good presence. Last year, a lot of superintendents and full boards, even though they weren't Latinos, they were there. And because we all need to learn more about the California Latino students. So it was a great event, so I hope not just because I am organizing it. We all make it this year. It will be great.
You're very subtly reminding us with text messages every few days.
Yes.
I'm appreciating that. I put it on my calendar.
Perfect.
So,
And today we got the flyer, so
excellent.
well, sadly it's gonna be during my weekend, my birthday, so I'm gonna be there with you guys, so with my family, so you can celebrate.
Okay.
While we learn more about our Latino communities in the States. Well, other things that are not as fun, it was also a very tough month again for another school shooting, which remind me a little bit about, well, we were talking about our statements last meeting and about the importance or non-importance of a statement. We did one about gun safety last year and we sent it to our lawmakers, so I don't know. Although, of course, most of our lawmakers in California are in the same line with us about it, but maybe we could, keep asking for it. Maybe we'll change something or resend our statement or maybe make a new one. I don't know. But we should keep trying. And well, thank you. That's all for us today.
You mentioned all the announcements that I was going to make, so, and we have a lot of people here who also want to speak, so I will pass.
Okay, and I am super excited that the community is here today, and we really encourage you guys to come and tell us everything you want to share with us, and we'll be here to listen, and everybody is more than bienvenido, por favor, díganos qué está pasando. Thank you. So that was for item 4. Now item 5 will be comments from the Sunnyvale Education Association. If there is anyone from their association here or online, Jesus? Okay, thank you. Now the next item 6 is comments from the California School Employees Association. Is there anyone representing the staff, Jesus, online or here? No? Okay, thanks. So the next one will be comments from the public, and you can bring me the cards. This is the time to comment about things that are not on the agenda. This portion of the agenda provides an opportunity for members of the public to directly address the governing board on any items of interest to the public. However, provisions of the Brown Act Governance Code 954.2a and .3 preclude any action being taken on any item that is not appearing on the posted agenda. In plain speaking terms, the board can only receive information during this time. We cannot speak to or about the items that are not on our agenda. This is part of the FAIR Act. So we might not respond to you directly, but it doesn't mean that we don't care or we are not listening to you. It's that we are not allowed to give you an answer of each of the questions. If you would like to comment on any item or that is not on the agenda, and if you're in person, please submit a speaker card. Thank you for doing that. Yes.
I think Carmen is indicating some people might need a Spanish translation.
Okay, perfect. Perfect, up to that. And if you are online, please use the raise hand feature on your Zoom right now. So we are gonna have translators for those who don't speak Spanish. Vamos a tener traducción para los que no hablen español. And what we're agreed to do is that if somebody needs translation, then we're gonna double the amount of time because we need to have it, to listen to it in Spanish, and then the translator is gonna do it in English. Vamos a hacer una excepción para las personas que van a hablar en español y para que los traductores puedan decirnos todo en inglés, vamos a darle obviamente el doble de tiempo, así pueden hablar y volverlo a repetir en inglés. Time limit allocated for public testimony. How many people was that?
14 right here.
Okay.
How many do we have online?
No one raised their hand.
Did you ask people to raise their hand?
Yes, I did. Okay, so we have 14 people here, so we're gonna try to get to all of them. We might need to extend them if the board approves, but
What
we're
you
gonna
could do
start
is
with
you
20
could either make
minutes.
it 1 or 2 minutes per
Yes.
speaker.
So
That would be my suggestion is
2 minutes.
to do 2 minutes.
Let's start with 2 minutes, and if we get, when we get to the 20 minutes, we decide what to do.
2 minutes and then assume some are gonna need 4 minutes for the discussion session.
Yes, so let's start with 2 minutes instead of 3 because we have a lot of people and time limits. That was our next board rule that I was gonna read, but we decided. Speaker asks to please give their names and affiliations so that an accurate record is reflected in the minutes. And we can also follow up with you guys. If you are in person, please provide us with a speaker card you would like to speak. This repeats. As a reminder, per board 9323, the board shall not prohibit public criticism of its policies, procedure, programs, services, or mission. During public comments, we encourage speakers to discuss with civility and to treat people whose opinions differ from their own with respect and to focus on ideas, policies, and values. We have 14 people, so we're gonna start with 2 minutes, and when we're getting up to 20 minutes, we see how we're doing. And we can also go to the people online after that if there's somebody there. And okay, let's start. Okay, we're gonna start with Camila Santos.
Tell the next two, so they'll be right.
Okay, and then the next two persons after Camila Santos are Emma Mora and Laura Solis.
I think they came over first, they came here before me.
Well, but we can go thematically because you're the only one talking about something different.
That's true. Oh, wow. Here we
So
go again.
Jesus is gonna put there a timer. Okay. I think this. And we're doing 2 minutes.
It can put 2 minutes, yeah.
What?
Just go to.
Go ahead, Sarah.
Hi, my name is Camila Santos, and
I heard you talking about gun safety, so that's what I'm here for. We see so many tragedies happening around our country, and why our legislators in our country, the Senate, doesn't do anything about gun safety. I come here to say pour out like what can we do as a district to protect our children, to protect the lives of our community, and like what is it that we can do while gun law reform is not being done. Should we have better buildings? Should we have better protection of identification of who comes in and out of our schools? And should our buildings be as open as they are now? I don't know, like as a mind of a parent, of a human being who is living in this world in 2023, what is it that we can do that is in our hands to protect our children? I think it's a conversation that should be happening every day, all the time, 24/7. And I know that involves money, involves execution, it involves being proactive. I don't have the answers. And even though the board should not say how you can do things when you're in a meeting, but with us, but I do believe that something needs to be done while our country is failing us and failing our children. So yes. Done?
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Okay, now please, Emma Mora.
Good evening, board members, Madam President and Superintendent Dr. Gallagher. My name is Emma Mora. I am fifth grade president, third place winner of the Future Chef competition, and a proud student at Vargas School. I am very disappointed that there will be no bus from Vargas to SMS. My mother is a single parent who is a teacher at another district, and my grandfather, who could take me, passed away on Friday, March 31st. I am begging the board members and Dr. Gallagher to please keep the bus transportation from Vargas to SMS so I can stay in school. Not busing students from Vargas School is showing us that we do not matter to the board or Dr. Gallagher. So please find it in your heart to continue to bus students from Vargas to SMS, and that we can continue our education in the best district, Sunnyvale. Thank you.
Thank you. Now will be Laura Solis.
Hello. Good evening, board members, Madam President, staff, parents, and audience. My name is Laura Solis. As my daughter spoke, she was also a participant in the Equity Summit. So she is very involved in her school activities, and she loves school. And reading the statement, I'm a former school student at Sunnyvale SMS when it was Sunnyvale Junior Middle School. And I'm also a former student at Cumberland from Sunnyvale. And I was reading your mission, which states that every student with a strong foundation of academic behavior, social, emotional skills should be prepared for them success in a diverse, challenging, and changing world. Our world changed on Friday, March 31st, when my father passed away. And we need the bus. We need that bus for her to go to school, because then I can't work. I'm a teacher in another district, and like most parents, we work from 6 to 6, and we have no other way to get our children to go to Sunnyvale Middle School. And it's very important that that is not taken away from us, because we need them to get that education that was promised in the LCAP, which is promised to every student in the school. And for them to just take away Vargas and just feels like they're throwing us to the side is very disappointing. And every time I tell her, that didn't happen when I went to school there, And that was many years ago. So it's very sad that when we had that option back in the day, now we don't. So I hope you find it in your heart and you continue to have Vargas students get bused to go to SMS. Thank you very much.
The next person will be Claudia Camacho. And after her, be ready, Dania Carrera. Oh, okay.
We have Dania go first.
Yes, Dania.
Dania primero. Por favor, gracias.
Hola, buenas noches.
Hello, good evening.
Venimos porque nos enviaron un correo en donde ustedes iban a expandir las paradas de los autobuses.
We're here because we received an email where you said that you were going to suspend the bus stops.
Pero esto afecta a 150 niños aproximadamente porque no aparecen en el sistema cuando ingresan su dirección.
But this affects 150 students approximately because this affects they don't show on the system apparently.
Yo fui a la junta de racismo en donde debía haber una unión, pero esto es un paso hacia atrás, no es un avance. No veo que haya esto porque la mayoría de niños que salen afectados son latinos. Entonces, esto es racismo sistemático.
Mm-hmm. And I attended the meeting about racism the other day, and I feel like it's a step backwards and not forward. I feel that there is a systematic racism going on.
Yes, basically we saw that there are secure areas, and the email said that if there are space, then we can bring service for the rest of the children. But no, what we want is to ensure that we at least have the same buses, and we want you to ensure that all the children that need the transportation will have it. That is what we want. No, if we have a space after the secure areas, and even we just checked, and for example, the children that they live close to Ellis, they need to walk between 45 minutes to 1 hour to reach Sunnyvale Middle School. And if they took the bus, they need to walk at least around 1 mile, and it takes 35 minutes to reach the school. Then it's a lot of time. And as you see, there are a lot of Latin families here and outside, and there are more that cannot be here because they are still working. Then they cannot go to pick up their children, unfortunately. Yes, and okay, we collected some signatures, and we have some petition, and we want one answer from you in 1 month because we don't want to wait and probably in the next year lost the transportation.
Thank you.
Thank you for the time.
So much.
Claudia Camacho, and the time will be there so you can see. El tiempo va a estar ahí así puedes ver cuando. Bueno, si vas a hablar en español puedes tener 4 minutos.
En español.
Okay, then Jesús.
We'll just do it twice.
Yeah, we'll just do it twice. Okay.
Okay. Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Claudia Camacho. Soy de nacionalidad colombiana.
My name is Claudia Camacho. I'm Colombian and I'm a single mother.
Viajé a ese país sola con mi hija, pasando todos los riesgos que lleva llegar a ese país para darle una mejor calidad de vida a ella, ya que venimos de un país con una...
Si le da un poquito de tiempo para que la señora traduzca.
Gracias. I traveled to this country all by myself along with my daughter to bring her a better life quality to my daughter.
Hay muchos países a los cuales uno puede migrar, pero decidimos llegar a Estados Unidos porque es la imagen mundial sobre la libertad y la protección de los derechos. A mi parecer,
there are many countries that we could have gone to, but we decided to migrate to the United States because it's well known that it's a country of freedom and they protect your rights there.
A mi parecer,
El hecho de que le quiten las rutas a los niños, sobre todo con un sesgo tan grande como es el tema racial, que somos latinos, y no pensar que habemos madres solteras, familias latinas, recién llegados, que no tenemos el transporte ni la oportunidad y que apenas estamos pidiendo un poco de seguridad para nuestros hijos, tomen esa decisión en donde uno viene con la ilusión, no es obligación del país.
And to my view, the fact that you are taking away the transportation service, it only says that it's unfair to us, to single mothers, to Latino families, and this should not happen. This should not happen, I'm sorry.
No es obligación, pero uno cree al llegar al denominado mejor país del mundo, que no se va a encontrar esta situación en donde uno está solo solicitando algo básico como el derecho a la educación.
And it's not an obligation, but this so-called best country in the world should provide this service. And it's only a very basic service to get education.
Solo como mamá, como latina y como ciudadana del mundo, estamos pidiendo derecho a la educación, nada más. Gracias.
Just as a mother, we're only asking for our right for education. That is all.
Laura Mejías, y después de Laura viene María Rivera.
Voy a hablar en español. Buenas noches a todos. Muchas gracias por recibirnos, a todos los que están presentes, los padres de familia. Yo soy una madre de familia de la Ellis.
Made interpreter, have a moment. Por favor, le pido encarecidamente que hable de a poquito y yo le voy traduciendo para no perder el hilo. Gracias. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon to the members of the board, to all the parents here.
Yo soy madre de 4 niños y me tocó vivir en el tiempo donde mi hija yo no tenía carro, no tenía para llevarla. Se me complicó mucho la situación, yo no trabajaba. No hay un solo bus público que pase seguido y que deje a los niños en Sunnyvale Middle School. Ni uno.
I'm a mother of 4 children. I didn't have a car. I did not have a job. And it was very difficult for me to take them to school.
Aparte, el bus público no es muy seguro para un niño de 10 años, 11 años. Para que mi hijo pueda caminar de mi casa.
Porque estás yendo mucho, ella se perdió unos pedazos y no te tradujo lo de que el autobús no llega, disculpa si puedes decirle eso, que el autobús no llega, no hay suficientes autobuses durante el día.
So there are not enough buses during the day, and it's dangerous for children age 10 and 11 to be walking by themselves.
Mi hija tenía que caminar desde las 7 de la mañana de la casa al centro de Sunnyvale para tomar un bus que solo pasa una vez cada hora para llegar a la escuela. Tenía que salir con mucho tiempo de anticipación.
And my daughter had to go out at 7 a.m. and wait for the bus that passes by every hour, and that's how much she had to do to get to school.
Y yo, en el momento que nos avisaron que había bus para la Ellis, que iba a Sunnyvale Middle School, fue un alivio muy fuerte para mí y para mi familia, porque sé que mi hija va segura, porque ahorita está ocupando ese servicio.
And the moment we were told that Ellis was going to offer transportation to the middle school, then it was a huge relief for me because I knew that she was going to be safe.
Pero pues esa seguridad se ha perdido en este momento porque tengo otro hijo que va a ir de Ellis, que está saliendo de Ellis ahorita y va a requerir del bus.
But then I have another boy who's going to require bus. He's about to finish his schooling from Ellis.
Entonces eso es muy preocupante como para mí, yo creo que para todas las madres, la seguridad de nuestros hijos. Entonces, por esa razón.
And so this is very concerning, I think, for me and for all the mothers here. That's the reason.
Estamos pidiendo que continúe ese servicio para que nosotros podamos estar tranquilos en el trabajo, sabiendo que nuestros hijos están seguros yendo a la escuela en el base escolar.
So this is the reason why we want to feel, we want to have a peace of mind, knowing that they're going to have their transportation system. We can be at peace and have a peace of mind at work, knowing that they're going to have their transportation system.
Y más ahorita con los tiempos que hemos vivido, con lluvias, con fríos, que los niños están caminando a la escuela, no es muy seguro para ellos. Muchas gracias.
And especially nowadays that there's been a rain season and it's been cold, it's just not safe, very safe for them. Thank you very much.
And then la próxima, María Rivera. Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. I just to come to talk to everyone to say, please continue to have transportation for all children, for all community, for everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Oh, sorry. Brisa Adu? Ahu, sorry. And after Brisa will be Emma Sánchez.
Voy a hablar en español. Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Brisa Ahu. Estoy en el grado
My name is Brisa Hu. I'm on 7th grade.
Y voy a la escuela Sunnyvale Middle School.
And I attend Sunnyvale Middle School.
Agarro el camión en la escuela Ellis.
I take the bus from the Ellis School.
Necesito el camión porque mis padres trabajan en las mañanas y no tienen tiempo de traerme y llevarme a casa.
I need the bus because my parents don't have the time to take me.
Yo creo que es importante que sigan corriendo los camiones porque necesitamos llegar a nuestras casas a la hora exacta.
I believe it's important for the buses to be operating because that way we can reach to our homes.
Y muchos estudiantes necesitan llegar a casa salvos y a la hora exacta porque cruzan las calles y es súper peligroso.
Many students need to reach home safely, and walking on the streets is very dangerous.
Si no hubiera camiones el año que viene, los estudiantes llegarán tarde o una hora antes a la escuela.
If there are no buses for next year, the students will be late and an hour late or more.
Y es súper peligroso cruzar la calle del Camino Real y para llegar a tiempo a la escuela tenemos que salir una hora antes y sería un peligro.
And it's very important to get the buses because to be walking on the streets, it's very dangerous. And for us to be able to be on time for class, we'll have to leave home an hour before.
Me gustaría que el distrito tome a cuenta lo que hablamos para dejarlo saber que necesitamos los camiones para el año que viene. Por eso estamos pidiendo que las rutas sigan corriendo para nuestra escuela.
I would like the district to take this into consideration. We need the buses for next year so that we can go to school.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Emma Sánchez. Y después María Hernández.
Buenas noches, mi nombre es Emma Sánchez, estoy en el grado 7 y
Good evening, my name is Emma Sánchez. I'm on 7th grade.
Soy de la escuela Sunnyvale Middle School.
I attend Sunnyvale Middle School.
Hoy estoy aquí frente a ustedes porque nos dieron la noticia de que van a retirar algunos autobuses.
Today I'm here before you because we received the news that some of the buses were going to be removed.
Quiero que sepan que muchas familias serán afectadas por esta decisión.
I want you to know that many families will be affected because of this decision.
Más que nada familias latinas que salen a trabajar muy temprano.
Especially the Latin families that leave home to work very early.
En lo personal, yo tengo que alistar a mi hermana y llevarla a la escuela Vargas.
Personally, I have to help my sister get ready and take her to Vargas School.
Mi mamá no tiene el suficiente tiempo para llevarme y traerme.
My mom doesn't have enough time to pick me and drop me off.
Muchas familias salen después de las 4 o 5 de la tarde y no podrán recoger a los niños si es que retiran los buses.
Many families get there at 4 or 5 p.m. and they will not be able to get there on time if they remove the bus service.
En estos momentos mi mamá se va tranquila al trabajo sabiendo que yo voy a llegar a salvo en el bus a mi escuela.
At this point in time, my mom has peace of mind knowing that I'll get home or home safely.
Estoy aquí para que reconsideren esa decisión y que piensen en cuántas familias saldrán afectadas si llegan a retirar los autobuses.
So I want you to please reconsider and think about how many families will be affected if you decide to take away the buses.
Muchas gracias y que tengan buena noche.
Thank you very much and have a good evening.
Or we still have 7 more. I think it will be okay if, do you think it will be okay to expand the time? I vote for that option.
I move that we expand the time.
I think that's a good idea.
Second?
We don't need to vote.
Okay. Then well, let's.
Thanks for checking in.
Good evening. My name is Maria Hernandez. I am in 8th grader at Sunnyvale Middle School.
Mi nombre es María Hernández.
I'm here today to ask
Aquí
that
para
you
pedirles que, I'm sorry, can you guys hear me? Oh, that's not good.
She's translating into Spanish. Do you want it translated into Spanish for the group?
Well, does she need to do it for online though?
I think
Yes,
yes,
just online.
she can do it for online without
Yes.
us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm here to ask that you keep the buses rights
Estoy aquí
at
para
Sunnyvale Middle School. I have been taking the bus since the bus rides start.
Oh, the software is not working?
It's not cooperating.
Oh, okay. So, yes, we're gonna have to, sorry.
Let's start your time
I know,
over.
it's just, yes, okay. You can move on.
Maria's doing great.
Yeah,
You
Maria,
didn't do
it's
anything
not your
wrong.
fault, it's that the Zoom thing
Zoom
is
is
doing
failing
something
us.
weird, yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So I have been taking the bus rides since the bus rides start, and I take the bus because my parents are not able to take me to school or pick me up. The Vargas bus is full of students who need to get to school in the mornings. Also, in the afternoon to get home. Without the buses, schools will decline in attendance and students will have to walk to school. Again, I'm here to ask you that you are that currently allowed to stay at Sunnyvale Middle School. Thank you so much.
Okay, and now Maria Hernandez, or it was Emma. Then the next one is Maria Hernandez, isn't it? Oh, that was Maria Hernandez, sorry. The next one is, I think, Veronica Morales or Velonia. Oh, it's kind of without much ink. Velonia Morales? I'll.
What's the name of yours?
Well, el apellido es Morales y Velania or Begonia. Yesenia. Huh?
Yesenia.
That's a, oh, it's B-E.
Yesenia.
Oh, Yesenia, that's not why, sorry.
It made it look like I knew, right?
Sorry.
Hola, buenas noches. Mi nombre es Yesenia Morales. Yo tengo 4 hijos.
Hello, good night. My name is Yesenia Morales. I have four children.
Y vengo acá a hacer la petición de que no quiten los pases porque en realidad nosotros como mamás nos sentimos seguras con ese transporte para nuestros hijos.
And I'm here asking that you don't take away the buses because us as moms, we feel safe.
Ojalá y sea la excepción para ustedes dejarlo así como está el transporte, porque estamos nosotros conscientes, tranquilas, trabajando, sabiendo que nuestros hijos van seguros en el transporte.
I hope that you make an exception here that leaving the transportation because we can be in peace while we are working, knowing that our kids are safe.
Muchísimas gracias por darnos la oportunidad de expresar nuestras necesidades como latinos. Gracias.
Thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to express our needs as Latinos.
Next one, Maria Mendez.
Hi, okay.
Yeah, you can also take it out because you have to
Oh,
get it
okay.
and use it. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Maria Mendez. I'm in 6th grade. I take the bus in Ellis. This will be if they take the buses, it will be hard for families to take the kids for school. Like when my parents cannot pick me up or take me to school, I go in the buses, and they know that I will go safe to home. For families, it's hard that to believe that the kids are going home alone without of them being present. And my petition is that please don't take the buses out. Thank you.
Diana Urquijo.
Buenas tardes, muchas gracias por recibirnos, de verdad. Me siento bendecida de estar en este país y que ustedes nos escuchen esta petición que estamos haciendo. Mi hija acaba de pasar.
1 minute, please. Good evening. Thank you for having us. I feel blessed of being in this country and that you are able to listen to us.
Mi hija acabó de pasar, está en 6º grado. Yo la veo todavía muy pequeña para mandarla sola a la middle school. Ella toma el bus en Ellis.
My daughter, the one that spoke before, she is in 6th grade, and I see that she is still little to go by herself to middle school, so she takes the bus.
Revisamos el recorrido y duraría 52 minutos caminando, yéndose desde nuestra casa al colegio.
And we analyzed how long it would take, and it would take like 52 minutes to walk to school from home.
Tenemos 2 hijos y él estudia en Ellis. Yo lo llevo en la mañana, queda en Ellis y yo quedo tranquila de que ella se suba en el bus.
We have 2 kids, and I took my son to in the morning to Ellis, and I'm in peace when she takes the bus.
Y en la tarde también, pues la tranquilidad de que ella regresa a casa segura.
And in the afternoon too, because we are in peace that she returns home safely.
Gracias por escucharnos y esperamos que reconsideren esta petición, esto que de pronto no tendríamos, pero esperamos continuar con este servicio que es de muchísima importancia para cada uno de nosotros y nuestras familias. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, and I hope that you reconsider this petition, that continuing with the services, because this is very important for us as families and for our children.
And the last one tonight will be Maria Gonzalez. If we don't have anyone online after that, Maria Gonzalez.
Buenas noches, mi nombre es María y pues fíjense que me siento contenta por permitir de estar aquí y la verdad que me da tristeza y yo quiero que sigamos continuando otra vez con el VAS.
Good evening, my name is Maria and I'm happy to be here, but I'm sad because I want to continue having the bus services.
Por la razón que es una seguridad mejor para nuestros hijos.
And the reason is that it would be it would be safe for our children.
Y es mejor porque serían 50, casi una hora de camino de donde vivimos a la escuela y es una seguridad mejor para mi hijo.
And it would be, and it's better because it would take him to get to school from home about 1 hour, and having the bus is safe for my son.
Porque de verdad hay mucha gente que en los cruces de las carreteras es mucho peligro para nuestros hijos, que mucha gente maneja y pues no se fija mucho más por las criaturas que van pasando. Mucha gente es muy tonta, con perdón de la palabra, que no se fijan en veces por la prisa que llevan, no se fijan que la gente va caminando. Porque a mí me ha tocado mirar todas las cosas.
And the reason is because there are many people that don't pay attention to the streets, and it's dangerous. When they are driving, they don't pay attention to the kids, so they drive like reckless, and that's dangerous for them.
No queremos ahora sí de perder a alguien de nuestros hijos, queremos la seguridad. Y pues esperemos en Dios que sigamos continuando otra vez con el VAS, porque la verdad sí lo necesitan nuestros hijos.
And we don't want to lose our children. We want them to be safe, and God forbids, we want to continue with the bus services because they really need it.
Okay, muchas gracias por permitirnos estar aquí a todos los latinos.
Thank you very much for having us here, all us Latinos.
Gracias por haber venido y quiero que sepan que siempre tienen el derecho de estar aquí, de decirnos todo lo que le esté pasando. Este también es el lugar donde tienen que estar. This is the place to be if you want to tell us something that's going on.
I'm sorry, Ben.
The petition, where should it go?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you have a petition?
The petition, you can bring
Okay.
it to us.
Mike to explain them why we can't really comment.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Just a couple of comments. The Board of Education cannot comment because this isn't an item on the agenda, but I'm the superintendent, I'm not on the board, so I can say a few things. First of all, we're at the beginning of a process, and the intent of the process is actually to include more students in busing.
Let's use the translator already.
Well, but she's translating for Zoom.
Oh, okay.
You can translate.
Lo lamentamos, pero por ley el board no puede hablar, no puede responder directamente a cosas que no estén en la agenda. Sin embargo, lo que él quiere sumar a esto, como él no es directamente del board, él les puede decir que es un proceso en el que estamos estudiando porque queremos ayudar y servir a más gente.
So there are students in all types of areas throughout the district who haven't had any access to busing before, including students who live on the other side, on the north side of 101, trying to get to Columbia Middle School. That's one group of students that we want to help, just as well as we want to help the students that are in this room, represented by these parents.
Entonces, parte del proceso es tratar de buscar alguna manera de redistribuir las rutas para que también los estudiantes que tienen que cruzar la 101 y que están al otro lado y que no tienen autobuses también puedan llegar a sus colegios.
So again, we're at the beginning of a process, and the most important thing is that we get the data, get the information of the students who need busing, where they live, so then we can create bus routes.
Y que lo más importante ahorita es saber exactamente cuánta gente los está usando y de dónde vienen para saber cuáles son las necesidades reales. Y que por eso se está tratando de estudiar de dónde viene la gente y hacia dónde va.
At this point, we actually haven't drawn any bus routes for next year. There are no bus routes drawn. That is going to be a result of collecting all the data, then we'll draw the bus routes so that we can serve as many students as we possibly can.
Que en este momento en realidad no hay ninguna línea escrita directamente por dónde van a pasar los autobuses y por eso es el proceso de saber exactamente de dónde la gente los está buscando, de dónde la gente los está tomando.
So with that, we appreciate hearing from you. This is the first time that we've had students and parents address us in Spanish and have it translated in the meeting. We hope that there's more of that. You're very welcome to come to all of our meetings. And we're going to continue to work on this issue because it's actually an issue that's very important to me and especially important to the Board of Education. We want to serve all the families who really need this transportation. It's an important issue to us, and thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Que nosotros estamos en el proceso todavía de desarrollar esto, pero que es muy importante haber escuchado las voces de ustedes, que es la primera vez que tenemos mucha gente que viene para acá a hablarnos sobre algo que es tan importante y que es muy importante también para nosotros y saber cómo está afectando a la comunidad y saber cuáles son los pensamientos de la comunidad para poder nosotros servirlos mejor. Y sobre todo tener a niños presentes diciéndonos cómo los afectan nuestras decisiones. Y que muchas gracias, por favor, sigan viniendo y sigan siendo parte del proceso porque es lo más importante que todos seamos parte del proceso y que construyamos algo mejor. Gracias. Well, with that, we're gonna start with the business, and we're gonna do a 5 minutes recess for the board, and we're gonna come back at 8:20.
Ex maestra.
Sí, porque
of the construction will be the piece that.
I wrote an email to the attorney to see what we need to do. We might need a resolution, we might not. She might just say, we want to take a leave. We already have in our bylaws, like if you miss a meeting. I don't know, it depends on how long. Yeah, so I'll find out.
Okay, so it's 8:21.
I got it.
So thank you, it's 8:21 and we are gonna start back into session and the next item in the agenda will be number 8, review and action. So we have first,
Yeah, that's next.
our presentations later, okay. Number 8, review and action. And 8A is the approval of the resolution R2323 authorizing the issuance and sale of the general obligation bonds and Brand Burns, Director of Facilities and Operations, will be presenting. Thank you.
Good evening, board. Good evening, cabinet. Good evening, members of the public. We get to bring forward the second issuance of Measure GG bond funds tonight. Had a very long introduction prepared, but for the interest of time, I've shortened it. I get introduced tonight, Makiko, with ISOM Advisors. She's a principal and has been with the district in some form or another with different companies, overseeing our bond funds for the last 15 some odd years. Makiko has been a guide for us as we've done issues of bonds over the last GG as well as P. And we are going to be going out for our Series B issuance for GG now. We started working on projects as soon as the facility master plan was approved last year. And since we've been doing that, we've been spending our bond monies to get these projects completed. And we're at the time where we need to issue another series of bonds. And Makiko is here to explain and go over some of the details.
Right. Thank you so much. Good evening, and thank you very much for this opportunity to present tonight. As Brent mentioned, the district is moving forward with the issuance of the Series B from the 2018 Measure GG bond authorization. And we thought that this would be a great time to provide the board with an update on where we are in terms of the bond program. So hopefully I can figure this out. Oh, okay, scooting. So the district voters have been very supportive of the bond program. They have approved 4 separate bond measures since 1996. The 1996 Measure A, the 2004 Measure P, and the 2013 Measure G bonds have all been issued at this time. In terms of the 2018 Measure GG bonds, the Series A was issued in 2021 for 30 million. So the district currently has 70 million in authorized but unissued bonds remaining. Ooh, sorry, now it's going very fast. Okay, so going back, I think this is the right slide, okay.
I got it.
All right, thank you. So the original financing plan assumed a long issuance timeline actually for Measure GG. The bonds measure was passed in 2018, but the first series of bonds was scheduled for 2021, second series of bonds in 2023, and then from there, a step down in the issuance schedule, 2025, 20 million, 2028, 10 million, and 2031, 10 million. We wanted to provide a bit of an update here that based on our latest conversations with the district regarding its project needs, that will likely combine those last 2 series of bonds into one. But that's, a couple of years in the future. Currently, we're right on track to issue the second series of bonds. So when we are looking at the bond program, there are 3 key inputs. The district's assessed value or tax base growth, the interest rate environment, and the bond sizing and structure. So slide 5 shows the current assessed value, which is 44.3 billion. And that represents a 7.7% increase from the prior year. When you look at the table on the left, you can see the average since 2004 is 6.7%, which is very high. And the graph, I'm a visual learner, so the graph I think tells a better story where just the steepness of that assessed value growth, especially since 2015, is pretty high. It's growing at a very quick rate.
Sorry, clarification. Clarification, these are the values of what?
It's the taxable property values. So that's a little bit separate than the market value of the property. Some of the properties are going to be assessed at levels that are close to market values because they have either turned over to new owners recently or been built recently. For people that have owned their homes for a very long time, their assessed value is capped by Prop 13. And so those assessed values can be significantly below the market value, but this is the aggregate taxable value within Sunnyvale School District.
And that includes both residential and
commercial, yes. So in terms of the market environment, this is a graph that shows the trend of municipal market data rates, that's MMD, and this is the benchmark rates that we look at in the tax-exempt municipal market. It is actually an approximation of what the rate would be for a AAA rated state issuer to borrow at. And so this isn't exactly what the district's borrowing rate would be, but we look at this to see what the trends are. And I'm sure that you've heard a lot of news recently about the increase in interest rates. And indeed, when you look at this graph, you can see from 2021 to 2023 that there has been an increase in interest rates, largely due to inflationary concerns. However, if you step back and actually take out that pandemic area, which was quite extraordinary from a number of different perspectives, interest rates are very much in line with historical pre-pandemic levels. It's very evident that it'll be, the borrowing rates on these bonds will be higher than for the Series A bonds that were issued in 2021, but they're still in line with historical averages and will be well within the averages that we used when we designed the Measure GG program. So the Series B bond structure, as I showed in one of the earlier slides, that there are still lots of bonds to issue from this authorization. And so we actually structure the debt service on these bonds to carve out some space for future issuances. So whenever the district issues new bonds, it doesn't necessarily result in an increase in tax rates. We want to keep it within the estimates provided to voters at the time of the election. And for Measure GG specifically, there was a tax rate target of $10 per $100,000 in assessed value. So this is a debt service chart that shows not only the Measure GG bonds, but all the prior authorizations as well. And Measure GG was structured to layer on top of the existing debt service with some consideration to keeping overall tax rates relatively level. And this is a table that shows the historical bond program tax rates. And you can see in every single year, this is a lot of numbers since the bond program's been in place for a while now, but going up back to 2003 to present, and tax rates per authorization. And you can see for each column at the very bottom, there's a yellow bar. That's the maximum tax rate estimate that was provided to voters at the time of the election. And you can see that in every year, the tax rates were within those estimates provided to voters. Another notable thing that I think is very interesting and worthwhile pointing out is when you look at the total column, although Measure GG was approved in 2018, there wasn't really a noticeable increase in tax rates at that time. And that's, there were a combination of the higher than projected assessed value, lower than expected borrowing rates, and, trying to structure these bonds responsibly. So I wanted to share that because I think it's notable and different from many other bond programs where you see increases in tax rates whenever there are new authorizations approved. All right, so I talked a lot, but we're finally here to talk about the resolution before you tonight for consideration. The resolution is authorizing the sale of the 2018 Series B bonds. The board is authorizing the issuance of the bonds, but also the resolution sets a number of parameters. The not to exceed par amount is 30 million. The maximum repayment term is 30 years, and the maximum underwriter's discount is $2.20 per bond. We actually negotiated down from Series A to Series B. And the maximum true interest cost is 6%. The resolution, sorry, I jumped the gun there. One of the requirements, it's one of the newer requirements actually, is that in the resolution, we need to provide the board and the public with some good faith estimates on a number of key statistics. This is admittedly a little bit conservative. I ran these numbers a few weeks ago and actually interest rates have come down since then. But the estimate of the true interest cost is 4.68%. Finance charge, those are the finance cost of issuance, is 241,000. Amount of proceeds is 29,759,000, and the total repayment is around 63.6 million. The resolution also has a number of attachments, and if you have flipped through any of these, you know that there are still a lot of blanks. These are being approved in draft form. And essentially in the resolution, you're authorizing district administration to execute these at the time of pricing and at closing. So a lot of the information about the bonds won't be established until the pricing date, and those documents will be filled out and executed. So our issuance schedule, you're making this presentation to the board tonight and requesting board resolution approval. We will be meeting with the rating agencies over Zoom on Monday and requesting them to get back to us with updated ratings on the 17th. That will allow us to post the preliminary official statement. That's the document that goes out to investors so they can evaluate whether or not they want to purchase your bonds and at what rate. And we will price in late April with closing in mid-May. I think that's it. Oh, regulatory information. I'll pause there for any questions.
Okay, so thank you for your presentation. And now is the time for public comment on this particular item, item 8A. Please use the raise hand feature online if you like to comment on this item. Is there any public comment online about this particular item?
No.
Okay. Then if there is none, the board, this is the discussion time, and this discussion is meant to be a conversation, and we are targeting approximately, well, as actually we took a long time, so just.
Do we have to move to approve it?
Yeah.
Okay, is any motion to,
I recommend the board approve resolution R 23-23, authorizing the issuance and sale of general obligation bonds.
I'll second.
Okay. Okay, discussion time. Do you have any questions, clarifying questions, comments, opinions?
Thanks for the information.
Thank you.
It's helpful.
It's very clear.
Okay, thank you. So then we can vote on that. Please say aye if you are on board with this.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. With chair full of ayes, then we approve the resolution R 2323, authorizing the issuance of sales general obligation bonds. Now the next, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Makiko.
Thank you for the presentation. Now the next one will be 8B, and is the approval of the declaration of need for fully qualified educators. And the contact person is Jeremy Nishihara, our Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources and Information System. Sir?
I think hers was just on.
Oh,
Excellent. Thank you, Isabel. Yes, this item is an annual item we bring to you around this time. Please note that the data presented in here is not our actual need, but it just provides us flexibility as we go into the 23-24 school year to provide us flexibility in filling certificated positions. We are well on our way during in the hiring season, but again, this is an annual item that we bring to you. We'd like to say one of my favorite sayings is this is approximately right and exactly wrong in our needs. And the numbers within what we usually our usual ask when we put this in. I would also like to commend Mary Beth Allman on her beautiful handwriting, and I'm just unclear when the credentialing commission will update their forms so where we can actually input this digitally. So I believe we scan, sign, and then email. But I do recommend, all my commentary aside, I do recommend the board approve the declaration of need for fully qualified educators for the 23-24 school year.
Perfect. We start with public comment. Now is the time for public comment on this particular item, item 8B. So please use the raise hand feature online if you would like to comment. Is there any public?
There's public, but there's no one here raising hands.
Raising hands, okay, thank you. Well, then, board, if you wanna vote.
I move to
Motion? Oh, sorry, Nancy, do you wanna
I wanted
make a
to,
motion?
yes, I wanted to move the approval of the declaration for need for fully qualified educators for this year.
I'll second.
Okay, now any comments or questions or opinions or?
I noticed the same nice handwriting too, actually, when I was going through the board packet.
It's like goals.
The lost art.
Yeah, very nice.
Are industrial arts and home economics electives?
Those are the credentials, I wouldn't call them the specific electives, those are the credentials that we would possibly utilize to fill potential elective courses, so.
The possibility.
Yeah.
Have we been able to find the word teacher?
Not off the top of my head, I would have to double check, the SMS staffing and see what they ended up deciding with the needs for their electives for next year. So I will make a note that is a interest to see if and when that is hired.
Good, thanks. Okay, board, please say aye if you vote to approve this motion. Aye. Okay, chair full of ayes, we approve the declaration of need for fully qualified educators. Now we move to item 9, presentations, and tonight we have a presentation on summer program, and the contact person is Dr. Tasha Lin, our Chief Teaching and Learning Officer.
See if I lost power, I think. Give me just a second. Lovely. Well, as it's deciding what it needs to do, I'm gonna get my phone.
Plan B.
Plan B, I was not a plan B. Yes, it is absolutely asleep. But coming to you with an overview of summer programs, a little bit about kind of where we are in our recruitment efforts in our summer programming. So before kind of jumping in a bit, we took the input in looking and how to grow, but not just grow in number, but also grow in quality of our summer programming. I would say one of the greater challenges that we are having with regards to that is really staffing. That's like number one. We continue to have the challenge between elementary and middle. Elementary students tend to still be more interested in attending our summer programs, so we don't have a problem with recruiting our students, but it's just a number that we will be allowed to actually fill the classrooms based upon the number of teachers that we have. You'll notice in the summary that you received that a lot of different options have been investigated in order to look at summer options for students, but for teachers, that is, for our summer programs. But our teachers, for whatever reason, I think maybe they feel better that the pandemic is somewhat beyond us. And they're taking their summers to do a few more things this year. So I think that's part of it. I think some of it is just life. People have different commitments that they've made and they are not taking on summer assignments. We've also done outside recruitment. We have, and we started early, we really pushed to get things early so that we could actually start recruitment before the winter break in December in order to get a better opportunity to, one, that our staff know early, so if they were making plans, they knew, yes, we're having summer, this is what the structure is gonna be, this is what we're looking to have. But in addition, any of our surrounding districts or in the area, any teachers who were looking for an opportunity and wanted to know, we wanted to get the message out as soon as possible. So those were some additional things that we did this year in order to have a better opportunity to secure. I will say that the collaboration with Stanford, where sometimes there are challenges with regards to getting the calendar just right and some of those things, but generally speaking, that collaboration is very positive in the sense that it does afford us teachers that otherwise we would not have. So just in the essence of that alone, it affords us an opportunity to have programming. So it is a work in progress, I guess you could say, with regards to the recruitment of teachers, but we are pleased with the teachers we do have, and we do feel like we have good teachers on board to run a good, solid summer program. So let's kind of start with that first. On the screen is kind of a infographic of the actual summary that you have to kind of walk through kind of what's happening with regards to our programs this summer. So the current enrollment, so when we say current enrollment, the way we do this, and first I want to give lots of praise to Jonathan Watts and Chin Chin Chu both, who are doing an exceptional job of being really creative and innovative to do the quality programming, but also to recruit. So the way we do that is we kind of start off with a soft start, if you will, like if worst case scenario, how many kids who will be able to support? So that 272 number, that's kind of who that is. But then that 512 is like if we fill each classroom that we have teaching staff for at this time, we would be able to meet up to 512 students. And so the breakdown that you see by the different school sites at this time is basically with that initial soft start is where actual students are actually coming from. One of the questions that you posed was with regards to Bishop and students being at Lakewood and that combination, but the way we've kind of designed things kind of forwards and supports both campuses because it is the maximum for the staffing we have to include both the summer enrollment, but also the after school programming for the most number of students we could possibly allow into our after school programming for the summer. So those numbers kind of reflect that reality. And let's see, will it let me scroll? It will not. So there you go.
Can you
perfect.
clarify what you meant by that? Like for after school programs?
Yeah, so because we have certain ratios we have to allot for, we needed all of the after school staffing to be in one location because by doing so, we could maximize on the number of classrooms and students that were actually allowed to be in programs because all the staff are in one place. But when you break that staff out, then you lose your maximization on the staffing that you have because now you don't have the same number. And if they're in different places, your ratios have broken up. So by keeping them in one location, we're able to maximize on that. And at the same time, for the staff that we have for the after school programming, it also supports with the programming for a few after school spots at Columbia Middle School. So you saw the capacity there for a middle school program. Some highlights I really want to emphasize is, the number of Junto students we'll be serving in programming this year. So we're really excited about that. We continue to have a solid summer programming for students who need the extended school year services, in addition to some additional supports as a part of our traditional, if you will, summer school programming. And then you see the numbers there for the after school student numbers that we'll be serving at this time. Services that we are providing, at this time, it hasn't 100% been confirmed, but pretty close. We will have library access again this year with our library resource specialists. And we'll continue to have behavioral support. So students who have maybe a little bit more challenges, we don't have to worry about exclusion of our summer programming for those students. Continue to provide the designated instructional services of occupational therapy and speech and language. We'll continue to have some small groups, so we see that life skills, so that's kind of infused within the programming of the classrooms. But also we do some small group social skills types of classes as well for students, both in general education and special education. We'll continue to provide counseling services. The counseling services are kind of twofold. It's students who may need support as a part of the summer program, but we also have students during our regular academic year who may need that transitional support in summer. And so the counselors and social workers who work during the summer kind of provide that transitional care and support, check in, even if they're working with another therapist, just to be sure they're okay over the summer. And then, of course, continuing some of the health and safety that we do over the summer with some families and supports for students. So in a nutshell, that is our current programming. We are still looking at some additional options. Some of those additional options are we looking at a mentorship type program and kind of with our 8th grade students potentially is going to be our target. So we're right in the midst of seeing how many students who might have an interest in this, and the purpose of that would be twofold this time. It would give us additional support and models for our students in some of our SDC classrooms, but it would also potentially be an option for those students to take that learning into their high school careers with them. So we're looking at that. And then we're looking at a few outside providers that may be able to partner with us in order to provide support targeted in English language arts and mathematics. That will be more of a pilot program that we're looking at. And if that really works, that might be a model we'll begin to look at in order to increase more targeted intervention support for students who need and want it. And then we are also in collaboration with Sunnyvale Services in order to, they wrote a grant in order for us to look at for special education students, but special education students who, for after school programming. So typically we have not been able to really right size it in order for some of the students who have a little bit more significant needs to participate. And so this program will be kind of like a pilot for 6 to 12 students just to see what would be needed, how would it work, and has the capacity to continue through the remainder of next school year to May 2024. So we're working on that, figuring out logistics, but at this time, the city does have the staffing for that and some additional funding to support that as a part of a grant they've written. And if that goes well, then we may do some blended funding in order to sustain the program through May of this school year. So those are just some highlights and any questions that you might have at this time.
Okay. So is there any member of the public who would like to speak on this item? Please raise your hand on the feature. No one? Okay. There is no approval, but we can, board, please share your comments, questions, observations, etc. Who wants to start? Yeah.
Is there anything we can do to make summer school more appealing to attracting staff?
You know, we've done a lot of things. I don't know now, based upon the data that we have, if it's really about appeal. I think it's about life priority, to be very honest. Our teachers are working hard, and one of the conversations that we've been having is we need them working really hard every day in the school year. And we also need them to have respite and refuel in order to come back and do it again. So that's why we're looking at some of these other options, because our teachers are speaking and telling us. And so we have to take what they're telling us and begin to look at other ways to do some of the work that we used to do. So I think it is tied to that a little bit. And sometimes it's just the year, like next year could be different, like last year was different. So I think a big part of it is that some teachers are just taking the opportunity to take the breaks. And we just have to keep working through that to see if there's any other options, because it is a commitment. It is an additional commitment.
And then I heard from one principal last summer when we were walking around looking at the summer school programs, and they said the one barrier is really to getting many families who the teachers and the principal and the teams thought really needed it to getting them to come to summer school was the childcare, because summer school is a half day. So if we can't increase our teachers, is there a way to increase the childcare staff?
Yeah.
So that we could actually possibly get more support for families?
I think unfortunately, it's tied to the same challenge, which is staffing. Because we still need to get staffing to staff those after-school programs. But we are looking at it and looking at other options and what might be available. But I think we're at a place now that our internal innovation has to begin to go outside of the walls of Sunnyvale in order to, our level of commitment for the program. And we'll be probably coming to you with some more information about that. But I think we are in a place now we have to really talk about what is our level of commitment to that, because it may require that outside support in order to sustain the type of programming that we actually really want to see for summer programs.
And at the Hoffman Awards, there's a program that's, I think is it Palo Alto is getting an award. It's for they're taking their high school students, but the issue is that the high school students enrolled in their early child care, they're enrolling in early child care dual enrollment with a college.
With a community college.
And so De Anza has actually said that they were interested in doing something like that with the high school district. So obviously it's too late for this year, but it's something going forward, because the high school students were interested in doing it because it was gonna get them college credit. And then they work with the little kids, and hopefully it will increase the school pipeline. So I think they're interested in it. And then the other two quick questions I had was, is transportation being provided for summer school?
I think there's some students, I don't know the routing of that. There's some students, but generally speaking, most
Got a
students
report
are.
behind you.
Oh, I thought he left. Okay, take it away.
Yeah, there'll be transportation services provided at summer school.
And then last thing for food services for summer school, is it for the kids it's just for the kids who are in summer school again?
Correct.
And that, will there be any meals going home for dinner?
No.
Nothing like that, no. Or what about half-day lunch? Is it yet where they can take it to go? Or do they have to eat there before they go?
They can take it to go, but by a kind of we can give them breakfast and lunch.
Just lunch?
Breakfast.
Breakfast and lunch.
Breakfast and lunch, okay. All right, thanks. Those are my questions.
Okay, Nancy?
Have we, with intentionality, thought of recruiting through our substitute teacher program of those candidates?
We do have some of our substitute teachers supporting in a variety of different roles in the summer. What percentage, I'm not certain, but we do have some of them serving in summer programs.
Okay, that's fine, but I echo that childcare, no matter what time of year it is desperately needed, and the workforce is down tremendously. So I appreciate trying to find additional partners and partnerships when there's just a lack of general workforce readiness still post-pandemic.
Is the lunches only provided for attendees to summer school? Is that new or oh?
That's our plan. That's not, we could do community feeding, right? Or no?
No.
The seamless summer, I think, is
Seamless
what we're
summer is
wondering
in
about.
We are doing single summer after summer school for 14 days, I think.
So seamless summer is what allows us to, I don't remember the details, but that's what allows us to do food in the summertime.
Do what?
Seamless summer program.
But currently we have no staffing for seamless summer, so it's an issue for me.
That's just another challenge.
Yeah.
But the plan is to do the seamless summer.
Could seamless summer happen during summer school for those who are not in school?
She's saying they don't have
And that's
staff.
well, no, I don't think it's a staffing thing, that's an ed code thing.
That's an ed code thing.
Single summer is only after summer school. And I don't even have enough staff to staff
Yeah,
summer
yeah, yeah.
school for food service. You could do it all summer. In
Well,
theory,
it sounds like by ed code, we can't when the school's in session.
we can only feed the students that attend summer
Yeah,
school.
for the break.
Staffing is still an issue for me also.
And I have some questions about the support services. These are these are also only for the students attending summer school, the speech and language therapy, OT, behavioral intervention?
Yes and no. So it's definitely targeted for the students enrolled in summer programming. But some students still need some, like I call it in and out services. So some students will come, get services and leave the campus. So it's a combination of services for those particular ones.
The one I think most curious about is counseling. I think you alluded to the possible mental health challenges that students would be facing over the summer. And would the counselors be following up on some of these kids who might not qualify for summer school or?
Yes, so they're kind of like a lead or a case manager. So what our social workers typically do is they converse and talk about students who are a little more high profile. So even if for students who have outside therapy services, so if anything comes up, they're aware of it and able to be a support during this period of the summer program.
And these students who don't have outside therapy?
So our social workers are serving those needs where students need to continue counseling services during the summer.
And then library access, is that going to be at each of the schools that has summer school?
Say the last statement.
Library access, is that going to be?
That's going to be primarily at Lakewood, where the main services for summer will be held.
And I think the library construction for the city branch, that's not starting this summer, is it?
I don't think so. The gallery?
Not this summer.
Yeah.
So last year there was like a library the library services were open at San Miguel and
Mm-hmm.
Right.
the librarians came and they actually did a pretty, they actually worked with the classroom teachers.
Right, yeah,
Did
and
lots.
books and checkout, and yes.
And Michelle?
I have no questions. Thanks for the updates and good luck with the finding staffing. I was thinking about, earlier you talking about the innovation cards. We each hand you even more innovation cards as it relates to summer school and trying to find staffing and meeting the needs of our students.
Absolutely, and if you have ideas, we're welcome.
And I saw that you you check with the YMCA and other programs to mix it up. How many weeks are we having right now, summer classes?
It's 19 to 21 days, depending on which program.
4 weeks.
So 4 weeks.
Okay, and then, so when we're planning to mix it up with either the city or the YMCA or any other outside contractor, are we thinking about the whole thing or just part of sections of the whole 4 weeks?
For the outside programming, we're looking at the 4 weeks, but also the extended time as well. So because those programs are running full summer, so we're looking at the entire thing. So for students who might want and welcome that as a combination of summer and learning, but also just safe care until parents are not working, we're looking at those options as well.
Is it true that San Jose Unified sends all their kids to Camp Galileo or sends kids as a thing?
Couldn't possibly be all.
I don't know.
I mean, like,
It's-
doesn't that seem like?
It's on my to-do list because I recognize that question. I'm not aware, but I do know that camp very well.
Yeah, it's like expensive.
Yes, it
Right,
is.
I know.
Yes, it is.
Hey guys, it's 9 o'clock.
It didn't seem real.
Thank you all.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. Well, now is the time for our closed session, so.
Consent agenda.
Consent agenda first. Yes.
And we wanna pull item 10E from the consent agenda.
Okay, so if any item of the consent agenda is subject to review and discussions prior to being approved by the board, if necessary, any item, in this case will be item 10G.
E.
E will be taken out for further consideration for later.
We're tabling.
We're tabling it for later. Okay, so we're tabling that one. So is there any member of the public who wishes to speak on the consent agenda items? Please use the raise hand feature now. Okay, no one wants to talk about it. Will the board who would like to pull any other item from this consent agenda to talk about or to table it, other than item E? Okay.
I move approval of the consent agenda as listed, except taking off E for a future date.
I second.
Okay, so is there any comments or talk about this? Okay, then if everybody is okay with that, please say aye if you want to approve.
Aye.
Okay, the chair votes aye, and with that, we approve the number 10 consent agenda items without number E. And with this, we move to the information agenda with the Williams Informed Complaint Settlement quarterly report 270.
So you just need to say.
You just
these are
reference it.
And
informational
yes,
items.
and the B exhibit information agenda 1113 district and school websites.
Go to 12.
That's it.
Nobody
We don't
wants to
talk about it.
Okay.
It's just there for people to
There
have
for
access
people to
to
have
it.
it. Okay, and with that, we are gonna move to item 12. This is the time to talk about the closed session items. The times allocated for public testimony are 2 minutes. If anyone wants to talk about the consent, the closed items, the closed session items, please raise your hand now. Or your electronic hand.
None.
No one is there to talk about this. Thank you. So we're gonna get to closed session, and it's now 9:03, and we don't really know how long it's gonna take, but hopefully we'll be back soon. And we're reconvening probably at least half an hour. So thank you, and for the translator, I want to thank all of you. You did a great job today, and
Yes,
thank you for being here.
You guys look at the two instead of looking right there. They're looking at you right there.
I know, but we want to look at them. We want to see them while we're talking to them. And
You're looking
that's,
over there and they're
I
looking at the
know.
side right there.
But we want to see that.
We see them.
We want to see you.
Gracias por estar ahí hoy.
Mónica, Manuela, can you hold on for a second?
Come on in. You should have tried some people. Yeah, and me.
Sorry for you.
Jeremy, you wanna try what you were talking about real quick while the
That's fun.
Okay.
The rest of it's like gray and boring.
Very good, very cool. Okay. Good night.
That was
good.
So,
Were your board meetings recorded? Because I think we're really enjoy this one. Okay, I'm gonna go get whatever ask.
Oh, okay, no, I think this, I wanted this.
Sorry.
Anyway,
Or
we'll talk later
in
on.
Spanish.
Yes.
I'm on Spanish.
So we turn your volume on.
Okay, good night.
Hopefully there's no feedback.
Okay, so what would you like me to do?
So Monica Vergara, what we're gonna try to do is, because we have to turn on and off the interpretation when you guys were going back and forth. So we're trying something different to see if we have to do anything manually versus what we were doing today, kind of thing. So, should I?
So if you could go ahead and speak in English. I'm tuned into the English channel,
So you're
but
asking,
but she's talking and we're not hearing.
Yeah, she says she's pointing to the imaginary microphone. She's like, I am speaking, but we cannot hear you.
okay, we can't do
Yeah,
that.
we cannot hear you.
Switching to English doesn't
So that
matter.
doesn't matter, okay. So we still have to do the on-off,
Yeah.
I guess.
But could it be where if I'm speaking English, can she translate to Zoom and the live room? That's the other question. By just,
Well, she doesn't control anything besides, she just speaks,
yeah.
right?
So would we have the opposite problem than only the English
So
channel?
if we unmuted Jesus' computer, but then there would probably be feedback when I
That's right.
tried that.
That's right.
Go ahead and speak in Spanish, you guys. Oh. Yeah, we can hear you from Jesus' computer now that I turned the sound on. But he's tuned into the Spanish channel.
Correct. So you being on English, you still can't hear her.
Yeah, because then it would be backwards, because if,
Oh, wait, if you switch them to English,
yeah, you'd have to announce
So
to
if
the
you
audience.
speak English, then that might work. Let me try that.
so if you switch their module to English.
So let me mute Jesus. Okay, so now what happens with English?
Do you have to,
Do you hear them?
I don't hear anything.
Yeah, so she's never come through here like she did before.
Yeah. So you have to go back to the on-off thing that you did earlier?
Yeah.
Basically.
So that's basically it.
But I guess the question was when superintendent was speaking, Monica was translating to the room in Spanish, and if we have everyone else, is this too complicated? Everyone in Zoom has to switch to the English to hear Spanish. That's what I'm trying to say, like, there's
Yeah, that's too much.
too much, okay.
To ask of our listeners.
Yeah, okay. That's fine, and then Isabel's gotta translate back this way, that's fine.
Well, again, thank you guys very much. You guys did fabulous tonight.
No, thank you. Thank you. It was
Thank you.
teamwork for sure. So thanks so much.
They put me to work tonight.
I've got to tell you, it was like a curveball. I was like, whoa, I didn't see that coming, but you got to be ready.
I sent you guys a little message. I don't know if you guys were able to read it before we started, but
I
did shout out.
think Monica didn't read it.
Apparently I didn't know.
No, because when you sent it, she already started with the public comments. So
Okay, yeah.
yeah.
I was
I sent it
distracted.
right when we were starting. I was like,
What's harder to translate back to English when they didn't stop in Spanish and you had to interrupt them? What's harder, that or how fast we speak?
Thank you.
I think you speaking fast is hard.
Excellent, all right.
In other words, slow down.
No, I'm still winning. No, I'm just kidding. Excellent. Thank you so much. Great job.
Gracias. Buenas noches.
Absolutely. Buenas noches.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
I know that's the week, but that was amazing. That was awesome.
Thank you.
Oh, gosh.
Clearly labeled as someone.
It's fantastic. It's the one like closest to the door in your office.
But it's not, it's like, it looks like a very nice happy dog.
Yeah, it's a happy
You can't tell if it's happy.
Okay.
Go back there.
Yep.
Okay, so it is 9:44 and we are back from a closed session, and in closed session, the board voted to expel student 130853 and 142294, to suspend the expulsion and to approve stipulated agreements for the duration of the 22-23 school year. And with that, the last item.
Oh,
To talk about the May 4th.
well, we can't make a decision anyway, so why don't you just bring it up?
Oh, yes, that's true.
So just for future meetings, so the May 4th, you know how we're doing the governance, right now it's scheduled that governance to be the evening of Thursday, May 4th, and the morning of Friday, May 5th. The evening of Thursday, May 4th is the Acknowledge Alliance event, which traditionally pre-COVID, we would all go and attend and support. If we want to try to do that, that means we need to move that Thursday night, because that's superintendent evaluation. So we can't do Wednesday, because some people are in Sacramento. So the options were, what did you say? Monday or Tuesday,
Monday or Tuesday,
like during the day.
yeah.
During the day.
Well, actually, it could be in the evening for me.
Could be in the evening.
The challenge would be with that, but I didn't think of this, Michelle, when we talked about it before. You, Isabel, will be getting data on the evaluation, and it'll give you less time to compile it. You know, if that was something you were planning on doing over the weekend anyway, then maybe it doesn't matter, but just, that would be the constraint there.
Okay. So it's superintendent evaluation for most of it?
Yeah, so the Thursday night was gonna be superintendent evaluation.
Can we just do a daytime meeting? Do we want to
Yeah.
try that?
Okay, yeah, but then Mike is going on Wednesday
So what about, like,
evening,
Tuesday morning?
to Sacramento, and then Thursday, the whole day, we're gonna go to Sacramento. I mean,
So what about Tuesday morning?
No, Thursday you weren't gonna be in Sacramento. Oh, you were gonna be in Sacramento.
Yeah, they're in Sacramento for the SF2.
Oh, I see.
So Mike is on Wednesday.
So what about Tuesday?
Yeah, I think there's one board member visit on the calendar for Tuesday morning.
I can adjust it. I already let Stephanie know it might not happen.
I also have a board member visit.
Yeah,
Carly.
they're gonna change that.
I have a different one, Carly from Lakewood, rescheduled mine that one. So it's on the calendar, but it's earlier.
So do we want to try to move it, yay or nay?
I think we should try to move it.
Okay.
I can make it up.
So then maybe Mike, since Nancy's not here, maybe you or Jesus could send out.
So what's the day you're settling on?
For Tuesday morning?
Do we need to do 2 days right in a row?
No,
They can, so we were thinking.
We keep the
Tuesday-
Friday morning still.
You can do Tuesday after 9.
Yeah.
Okay.
you actually could do Wednesday morning too, because I don't have to be in Sacramento until,
I'm not
Yeah.
available Wednesday.
okay, well, that settles that. So Tuesday morning, you wanna do it like 9 to 12?
9:30?
Okay.
And then on Friday,
Friday's the 9 to
We
12.
keep the,
the Friday, instead of 9 to 12, could we do, is there any chance we could get out at like 11:45 or something? Cause I wanna
That's
try
up to us. Oh, that's not the superintendent evaluation, never mind.
on the Friday?
So should we start at 8:30?
Yeah, could we do like 8:30 to 11:30 on Friday?
I have a 9 to 1 on my calendar.
Yeah.
No, I know, because there's initially we said 9 to 1, but then it was gonna be 9 to 12. I don't know, is that possible, or?
You wanna start?
I don't know how much time we needed. Cause it's that,
We'll just do it in 3 hours.
I'm fine with 8:30 to 11:30.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
and so that's the same on, Tuesday is 9 to 12.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome, that works for me.
So we need to confirm with Nancy that that Tuesday one works, right?
And what's Acknowledge Alliance? What is that?
It's the group who mostly supports, kind of like
Oh,
chat, but
right.
for the teachers.
Right, when is that?
Oh, yeah.
Like if they, I mean, they do some things to help kids too, but it's mostly supporting like teachers.
When is their thing?
So that's Thursday night, when we were supposed to be doing our
board
closed
meeting.
session superintendent evaluation.
Okay, cool. So will you
And it's
send
in, and it's in Los Altos.
will someone
Resend the Acknowledge Alliance.
resend the Acknowledge Alliance info? Cause I said
Yeah, so
no,
Jesus,
but
will
then-
you resend that to us, cause then we'll probably all say yes. Awesome.
They're gonna be so happy because I told them we had a conflict that we might change it. They'll be really happy.
If they have the chocolate dip strawberries, I might need to steal one for Reed.
She could come.
That's true. I should just invite her. True.
Okay, so and with that, the meeting is adjourned.
Perfect.
Yay.